Hello everybody and welcome into my latest live video. It is Friday, the 27th of September 2024. My name is CareyHolzman. Thanks you guys so much for joining me today as we explore an eBay purchase of a used computer sold for parts. We're going to talk about this today. In the meantime, a shout out and a thank you to our friend Paul Gray out there in Australia with a very generous Amazon gift card. Our thanks to you, the deepest gratitudes. And of course to our friend Buster, Peter Laycock, joining us from Scotland, Norway, I said that wrong, Oystein from Norway, and of course Frankie B in New York City. These are our super members. And without their support, well, today's video wouldn't have been possible. We went out and spent our money, your money, your memberships, your super chats, your generosity enabled us to go out, snoop around, find some projects we thought you might enjoy watching. And so today's content is being brought to you by you. I hope you don't skip past our sponsor, because that's you. All right. Let's say hello to everybody joining us in the chat. Good to see everyone. There's our friend Luke Greenia there in Vermont joining us. Alaj Tepej is now a member for 21 months. 21 months. Thank you, Alhaj. And what country is Alhaj joining us from? I can never remember. Is it Croatia? No, that can't be right. I'm sure he'll tell us in the chat room. Mark Baggett says hello. And there's Michael Sayer saying hello. James Steinbreaker says hello. Nick Poverman joining us, as well as Winston Liu from Canada. 3D Everything says hello. Richard DeFry says hello from Ireland. Eddie Casanova and Ray Gallagher say hello. PC Fishing says hello. There's Scott and Mark Leibowitz saying hello. Trevor Schweitzer says hello from a wet and windy Australia. Another viewer from down under. That was terrible. Don't do that again, Carey. I'm just amusing myself. Madman Dark Jedi says hello. There's Doman 2000 and Nick Caffrey saying hello. John Clausen and Arnold Schmidt. Alan Lindas, who's here in Arizona, says hello. Welcome to our 110-degree, almost October days. Yeah, we'll be in 110-degree weather, and certainly triple digits well throughout the first week of October. It is miserable, absolutely miserable. But, you know, you live in a desert. How can I complain? I'm going to anyway, but I'm just saying it's ridiculously hot for the fall. This is still summer. This is not, I don't care if we had the fall equinox. It isn't. Nobody told nature. 21st. Let's go. 6 days ago. Let's see. Where was I? I lost my place. I think I said Mark Leibowitz. Yeah, I think we were here. Of course, Marlena joins us as she takes care of all the background administration work. There's a lot of it here on doing this channel. And an epic job as always. She's working on lining up some reviews and potential sponsorships for us. And of course, if you want to ask any questions to her there, she's in the chat room. Jose Lopez says hello. Alan with a Y says hello. Dazzle555 says hello. Charlie Purdy, Kurt Schlegel, Michael Lavelle, Paul Connolly all say hello. There's Andy Kane. David Graham renewed his membership, now a member for 13 months. Thank you, David. John Williams says hello. Chris Johnson says hello. And Dave S. Nicholas Barlow, Claudio Williams, and Gil Garcia. I'll say hello. Well, welcome in, everybody. And today, I hope the show does not disappoint. We've had some issues with the streaming computer losing its internet connection, and I've made some more modifications. There's a number of ways I could just resolve this, right? I can change the streaming computer out. I could swap out a network card. Heck, I could even go Wi-Fi on this, but I'm just kind of wanting to figure it out. So if this is the last chance, if it goes out on us today, I will do something more extreme and stop playing with it. Because I think, so I had an issue with the streamer some time ago when I was trying to share a folder to transfer files, and it wouldn't let me share it no matter what I did. And I thought, well, that's really strange. Sharing files and folders on Windows is very easy. There is no, you know, some people, they have some difficult time getting it to work because they're using old drivers, bad cables, their router or switch needs to be rebooted. It's not an issue with Windows. Unless you've modified or done something to your Windows. If you have a fresh, clean, unmolested copy of Windows 10 or 11, setting up peer-to-peer file sharing is very simple, and it always works 100%. There's never an issue with Windows' ability to file share. Don't blame Windows if you can't get it to work unless you've modified Windows, you're not using the latest drivers, you haven't set it up correctly, or your switch or your router need to be rebooted. That's all there is to it. So you can imagine my frustration when no matter what I did, I could not get the file to share. I could access other shares, so I just worked around the problem by, instead of copying files to the streamer, I'd copy files from the streamer, which was fine if I only needed to go one direction. And when we had these network dropouts, I found there was a couple of BIOS updates that I had missed out on, and one of them was pretty massive and took quite a long time to install on the B560 live mixer board from ASRock. And then its built-in 2.5 gig network card is a Realtek family 2.5 gig controller, also had a driver update, so I applied that as well. And after we did that, I thought I had it fixed. It solved the sharing issue. All the sharing problems went away. So it means everything I did was right. I didn't do anything to alter my Windows. All my cables, switches, all my networking gear was good, with something with the driver or BIOS. But then we dropped out again. So then I thought, let me go to ASRock's website. Let me download their official factory driver for the network card. And I've applied that just to see if ASRock's doing something weird. Because, like I said, I could slap a network card in it. I can even go with a USB. It's literally a 2-minute, $10 fix with a USB to Ethernet adapter that'll solve this problem. I just don't want to. I want to know, I gotta know why, you know? So we'll see how today's show goes. And if it does drop out on us today, we're gonna fix this. I have some ideas, including the original Threadripper build over at Studio A. We could take that out of, blow the dust out of it. I'd say retirement, but it's not really retired. It's just on a siesta. What does Intel call that when their employees go out on a, I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, it's just had a few months off. A sabbatical, that's what it is. So in any event, hopefully today will go smooth, but it doesn't happen all the time. So just because it gets through today doesn't mean I'm satisfied the problem's fixed. We'll go through it next week as well and make sure that it stays consistent, that it's working. If we get one more dropout like that, I know something's going on that motherboard. And you know, it's an AMD build. I've been against AMD because of weird things like this. I don't know why, and I know that's going to upset people, and I'm sorry, it's not about your feelings, it's about the way my business runs. And I get more request repairs for AMD than Intel. I don't know why. It may be possible that the percentage of repairs is the same and that there's just more AMD systems out there. Or it's possible that the motherboard manufacturers or the chipset manufacturers, which I suspect are the ones to blame, not AMD, they're the ones releasing product that's an issue, whereas I don't have the issues with Intel. So when I did the streaming computer build, I did it AMD for a reason. As every version of motherboard and chip comes out, they should be getting better and better. So we had all kinds of problems with Threadripper. That went on for 2 years trying to get that all resolved with memory compatibility, all kinds of problems with it. The second Threadripper build, smooth as butter, no problems. Then we went with this AMD build. You can't see it, but it's on the floor. And I thought it was smooth as silk, real easy, enjoyable, and now it's showing problems I've never seen on an Intel board before, and I can't explain it. I also understand the AMD 5 processors are having a heat-related problem that's preventing them, both Intel and AMD are having heat-related socket problems that are preventing systems from working properly. So Intel did finally release their, speaking of this, their conclusion to what was causing the 13th and 14th gen failures, and it was overvolting. It was absolutely overvolting that caused it, and then they have isolated it down to a specific component. If you're interested, it's on my Twitter page. You can follow me at Twitter, and I posted a link to that article, and Intel explains it all. In the meantime, you know, Intel's got the 15th gen chip coming out anytime now that cannot be overvolted. They're all little chiplets instead of one monolith chip, and each chip is going to have different voltage tolerance levels. So you can't just set the voltage up and assume all those chips are going to be okay with it. Each one is a unique chip. Therefore, this is probably going to be forgotten and moved on. A BIOS update is pretty much all you can do. If the chip's already damaged, you send it in for warranty. I'm not sure what AMD is doing with the AM5 issue. I haven't heard anything yet. I just learned that the problem existed. If there's one thing, I try to keep an open mind. And if I don't like a particular product, I like to revisit it after a year or two and see if anything's changed. And unfortunately, we're right back to these weird problems again, which is why I stopped using AMD, because it was making my business look bad. When customers are complaining about issues and I'm struggling to fix them because they're intermittent, they're very difficult to diagnose, like memory compatibility, etc. That's a reflection to the customer that I don't know what I'm doing. And it's costing my company money. So it's not personal. I don't have a vendetta against AMD. I don't really care. I want the best product available for my customer, which is the best product available for my business. And I share that information with you. Now, remember, you might only own one or two and say, you know, I've never had problems. But you also may not be relying on it for business. And you may also not have 100 of them you're going through every 3 months. So the scale of everything is much bigger for what I do. Now, lately, it hasn't been 100 every 3 months. In fact, right around last year, things started to slow down. But make no mistake, I'm still selling a lot of machines. Primarily, the people that are buying right now are either interested in mini PCs or they're interested in laptops. And I don't sell laptops. I direct them somewhere else. I don't want anything to do with laptops. From a business standpoint, from a personal standpoint, that's different. I don't want to be repairing power jacks. I don't want to deal with hinges. I don't want to deal with spills. They're far too difficult to work on. There's not enough money in it. Parts are hard to get. There's a lot of fraudulent parts out there. And oftentimes the repair can cost more than the laptop is worth, unless it's, you know, fairly new. So as I guide my business, I'm always trying to find what's the best bang for the buck, what gives my customers value, which includes performance, reliability, and security. So when I chose the AMD for myself, I'm evaluating it to determine if it's okay to recommend it back to my customers. It's not. I mean, as long as these kind of problems exist, there's no reason, if Intel's selling a product I don't have the problems with, to just switch to AMD for no reason at all. On the other hand, Intel did have problems with the 13th and 19th gen, but those are generally on their K series processors. And all of the 13th gen and 14th gen that I have sold have all been the i5, 13500, 14500, and maybe 13600K, 14600K. Any 14900Ks or 13900Ks, those were for my personal use or for studio builds. Those were not sold to customers, nor are they normally. The last K processor, like 9700K, 9900K, was in that series. And it's not worth it to the customers. It's a ripoff for them. They don't need all those extra cores. They don't need the extra cooling and the louder fans. It's all a complete waste of money. So ever since then, from 10th generation on, I have not sold or offered to sell a 10, 11, 12, or 13900K to a business client. Those are home user processors or certain business clients that have, you know, extreme needs, which I don't have. You know, I have accountants, dentists, lawyers. They don't need that stuff. So I was not impacted by the whole Intel voltage thing, nor am I impacted by the AMD AM5 thing. I don't sell them. And thankfully, because I'm not involved, it has no impact on my reputation, nor does it have an impact on the cost of support, that it would cost me money to do whatever I need to do to make that client system right, because it would be under warranty. And that's all my time, all my labor, all my gas, you know, to drive over there and take care of it. The inconvenience to the customer who shouldn't be dealing with any problems on a brand new machine. That's just a disaster if you want to stay in business. So I just want to share that information with you. Not asking you to agree with it. I'm not asking you to say it's fair. I'm just trying to stay in business, and I want to share with you what you don't typically get from an enthusiast tech channel, which is actual, real-world, practical information on what it takes if you want to become a technician, if you want to start your own business. You have to shift your line of thought. If you're not willing to do that, you're a home user, and stay that way, you're fine. But if that home user takes that home user attitude into business and you don't quickly shift and turn in order to do what's best for your customers instead of what's best for your emotions, you're not going to be in business very long. So I'm trying to give you the recipe to be successful if you want to pursue that career. There's money to be made, but you can't base it off of your own personal belief system with regards to, I like the underdog kind of thing. You have to make the best decision for your customers' needs and your business needs so you can pay the bills at the end of the month. And this is what I have done, and I just want to share that with you. And I'm sure we have a few other business, let me rephrase, we have a few other IT folks that do work in the IT field who I'm sure will agree with me. Whether they do or not doesn't change anything, but I'm sure they will, because it's not really debatable. It's just this one fact holds true throughout business, which is you need to make money. So now you don't need to make a ton of money, but you definitely have to at least be able to survive, or the business won't stay in business. All right, with that done, let's see what else, what's going on in the chat room here. Hey, there's Buster joining us with a 10-pound super chat. He says, good evening, Carey and Marlena and everyone in the chat. All the best from Bonnie, Scotland, where the temperature in Edinburgh, 45 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 7 degrees Celsius. Oh, what I wouldn't give for that. It's going to be 110 or 111 today. Nick Caffrey with a €5 super chat says, small contribution to the community. Well, thank you, Nick. I appreciate you very much, my friend. And Samuel Kowalski joins us and says hello. Thomas Backenstow says hello. Anthony Harbour says hello from the UK. There's Mick Woods, Avery Ramsdorff, William Dawson, all joining in and saying hello. Good to see everybody. Hey, there's Oystein. He says hello. Just trying to get caught up here. Gilberto Gonzalez says hello. Ken Schmidt says hello. Babamoo says, feelings and fanboyism don't keep the roof over your head. Well, I mean, unless somebody else is, if I'm in my mom's basement. But that would suggest my business isn't very successful if I've got to do that. All right. Mike Ely says hello. Bajan Guy saying hello. Philip Jones says hello. Welcome in, everybody. There's Bill Sony saying hello from Pennsylvania. Good to see you, Bill. Thanks for hanging out with us. Okay, so I went on eBay, and I've always got like a search alert for any used gaming PCs that are being sold for not working, parts only kind of situations. And I got to say, it's few and far between. A lot of people are just really very eager to rip somebody else off. So whether it's Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or OfferUp, there are a lot of scavengers out there looking to take advantage of those who aren't smart enough to realize what they're buying. I see a lot of 4th generation Intel chips being sold as gaming PCs for $400. Like, are you out of your freaking mind? I saw one gaming PC listed on eBay that was just a case and power supply. So it's a gaming PC that doesn't include the motherboard, CPU, storage, RAM. And one of the panels was missing. And I think they wanted $250 for it. It had to be 5 years old. I was like, you're out of your freaking mind. Sometimes people realize the cost of shipping is so ridiculous on shipping a tower, mid-tower computer that it's local pickup only. So I've seen a few that were kind of on the edge with price, but it's like in Bellevue, Washington. I'm not driving from Phoenix to Washington State to go save $100 on a PC, and spend $300 to get there. So I have these alerts come to me daily from eBay with search results. And this one popped up for this weird looking HP computer. And I thought, well, somebody's made a mistake. That's a Bluetooth speaker. Oh no, this is an actual HP computer that reminds me very much of, there was that round one. I can't think of the name of it right now. There's been a few. MSI, I think, made one. And these are very old. They can still run Windows 10, but they're not Windows 11 compliant. So you could use it with, let's say once Windows 10 support ends at the end of 2025, you could throw Linux on this or disconnect it from the internet and use it for local things. But in the meantime, I thought, we still got a year of use on it, and this might be fun to fix it. So let me show you what the eBay listing looked like. And I should have, let me see, I minimize this, minimize that. Aha, okay, so I have a PDF file of the original listing because it's more than what I could fit on one page. And let me share this with you here. Window capture, properties. There it is. Okay. Here's the listing the way I saw it. HP Pavilion Wave 600 AD14. It's an i3 6100T. That's a 6th gen. Very similar to the veteran giveaways. Those were i5 6500Ts. $80. $80. Right? So you're like, all right, what's the catch? How much is the shipping? Are they going to get you on the shipping? Shipping's included. Okay, free shipping. Oh, I'm interested. There's pictures, but they're generic stock photos. They're not a picture of the actual item. You can just tell these are stock photos from the manufacturer that are done way too well to be the actual product. And it says down here, this is for parts not working. Oh, I got to make this bigger. I can't read it. An item that does not function as intended or is not fully operational. So you scroll down, item description of the seller. It is intended for parts or repair only. Anything sold for repair is sold as is with no returns. Item is untested. I do not have the proper equipment to test this item. You will receive exactly what is shown in the photos only. Please do not assume this item includes a power cord, battery, or any accessories. If it is not stated in the description of the photos, it is not included. This is what it's like dealing with the public today, right? You've got to put all these disclaimers of what should be obvious, because otherwise people will cry foul. Like, I'm too dumb to assume that you would be including things that weren't included in the auction listing, and it's your fault I had this imagination. So you've got to battle the imagination of many consumers and let them know, telling them they're wrong and it was wrong for them to assume is their problem doesn't work. So now, because they'll cry to eBay, they'll cry to PayPal, he ripped me off. They will use their imagination as a means to become a victim and convince eBay and PayPal to punish you. So now you've got to put these disclaimers in. It's like a bottle of soda, and on the bottom of the glass it says, open at other end. The public is just, unfortunately, it's getting worse and worse. So now you're going to see more and more disclaimers. In California, there are some items that California government has said will cause cancer, and now as a default boilerplate statement, it just says, every product says, the state of California has determined this product may cause cancer, and it's on everything because if you put the disclaimer on it, you're free from any liability. So let's see, please be aware, obtain our items through liquidation. Items that were never owned by any of our The items were never owned by anyone on our team. The item is sold for parts or repair. Nothing is guaranteed to be working, even if you fix the issue that the item has. Buy it at your own risk. No returns are accepted on items sold for parts or repair. All right, so that's where we're at regarding that. Hold on a second. Yes?
Check your phone, your email.
I got to check my email sheet. Well, I got to put my glasses on. Where's my glasses? I'm going to need these later, I think, with this. So anyway, I order this. They ship it really fast. Like it arrives 2-3 days. And I realize I don't have a power supply, right? And I just kind of didn't think about it. So I was eager to see if what they shipped me works. So I went online to look for, first of all, what model of power supply does this take? HP makes a lot of different machines that take a lot of different power supplies. We've talked about that ad nauseum, about getting a marker and labeling it because they all look alike. So a little Google search later and I figure out what the part number is for this. I search for that part number. Amazon's got it. Anybody want to guess how much it is? Anybody want to guess how much the power supply is on Amazon for this unit? And while you're responding to that, let me check the email. Let's see. I don't know what she wants me to check my email for. I am confused. I don't see anything in here. So anyway, bear with me here for a second. Hold on, I want to find out. I got to find out what she's talking about. So bear with me here just a moment, and I will return because I don't see anything. All right, well, maybe a misunderstanding. Let's continue on. So the power supply is, yeah, people are looking it up. It's $80. It's as much as the whole computer. So I did some more research, started looking around other websites, and I found the power supply used on eBay for $25. It's a honker. It's a 150 watt power supply, and the barrel plug has a pin in the center of it. So it's in great shape. The person said that it was used. Okay, I don't care if it's used. It's 150 watts. I plug it in and I check it out, and the system boots fine. Spoiler alert. But here's the thing. It's got a very old mechanical hard drive in it. And it's only got 8 gigs of DDR4 RAM in it. And it's got somebody's name and login that it comes up with. So I said, okay, let's make sure everything's okay with this. Let's wipe everything clean, reinstall Windows 10 on it from scratch, and download all the updates. Oh, those updates took forever with the slow mechanical, like a Toshiba 1 terabyte, 3.5 inch, well, may not be 3.5. It's a slow mechanical drive. That's probably as old as, it's probably the original hard drive, right? So if this is 6th generation, we're going back 8 years. And anyway, the with the RAM being DDR4 at 8 gigs, I think this machine could be very useful, only because on the veterans giveaways, you know, we did i5 6500Ts. And with a solid state drive and 16 gigs of RAM, they scoot along quite nicely. So even though this is an i3, it's never going to be an i5. I feel like if we put 16 gigs of RAM in this and we replace the mechanical drive with a solid state drive, and I don't want to go through the whole Windows install, so we can use a Cronus Trimage to image it, and we can make a video showing you how this is done. I think that would be great. So I thought we'll try that today. Also, there's probably been BIOS updates for this that have never been applied. I haven't done any of that off camera. All I did was determine if this boots. My plan wasn't to diagnose and repair it off camera, but I was hoping to have something to diagnose and repair. Turns out, and this is my guess, the company that liquidates these didn't have a power supply to test it. So to play it safe, you know, they probably researched what they sell for. They don't really know what they've got. And they go, here it is, you know, doesn't include a power cord. Well, this is more than just a power cord. In fact, this included the power cord. So all in, we've got about 110 bucks into this little project for today's video. And again, we use your contributions and your support to help us have content that we can do like this. And when we're done with it, hopefully it'll be a pretty decent machine, and you know, the potential to give it away is there, presuming somebody's willing to cover the shipping cost, which is probably going to be as much as the whole machine cost us. You know, these folks on eBay that are getting free shipping, they're larger shippers than us. You know, they get bulk discounts and whatnot. So for individuals like us or small businesses, yeah, shipping can be quite expensive. All right. Open her up, PC Fishing says. Well, what's interesting, I did a little research on this. There are some videos where they disassemble these, and they're a mess. These are not easy to work on. HP, you know, horrible product, horrible printers. I don't know what HP stands for, but I do, I'm joking. It's a very unique design, and if I bring this up to the camera, you'll see. Let me come up here. All the ports on the back. And so it's my understanding that we remove the rubber feet, take out 3 screws, and then the whole top slides off. And then you've got like a mini ITX board in there, hard drive and RAM. It's a pretty unique design. It's not upgradable as far as, you know, you can change the RAM, you can change the storage, but it's sort of like a laptop in that limitation of upgradability. Give me 1 second here. I'm missing a tool. I'll be right back. All right, so I have this issue where we've recently moved into Studio C, and I have a couple of SATA to USB cables, but I can't find them. I know they're here, and I'm planning ahead, right? I'm thinking, okay, I have to get everything together for tomorrow's show. I'm thinking this yesterday. So I go through my boxes of stuff, and I find my 3.5 inch to 2.5 inch adapter that we were using on the earlier giveaways with the big Dells. And I still have a few of those left over. I have this ADATA 1 terabyte solid state drive. I have this older DDR4 RAM that was pulled out of a customer system. This is 8 gigs each. And I think that'll work in here, but I'm not sure. So I'm putting this all together in my head, and I go, I need my USB to SATA cable. I can't find them. And here's the thing, when I was putting stuff, when I was packing stuff up, I remember thinking to myself, these SATA cables should not be here. They should be with these other adapters. And I keep going back to where they used to be. That stuff I can find. If I had left it alone, I'd know exactly where they were. So I was like, this isn't good. I went on Amazon. I'm like, these cables are very inexpensive. And sure enough, a SATA to USB adapter cable's like $10. And I found one that was $6 with a 20% off coupon on top of that, with free next day delivery, Amazon Prime. So I ordered it Wednesday. Thursday came, said it'll arrive by 10 p.m. and I got a notice from Amazon that said, oh, that's running late. Sorry about that. We'll get it to you tomorrow, which was today. And then just before the show started, it arrived. $6, SATA to USB. Now, there were other ways I could do this, right? I could just replace the drive and reinstall Windows, but I really wanted to focus on using Acronis today, just because we haven't talked about them in a while. And I also wanted you guys to be aware you don't need one of the expensive, it's not expensive, but the more expensive drive docks. They need to be plugged into power. They, sit on your desk. They look like a little toaster. And I could have used it. There's a number of ways I could have worked around this, but I really wanted to do it this way. And as I start setting up Studio C and getting things unboxed and put away, I will run into I have 2 or 3 of these. I just don't know where they are. And then the other problem is I have those little ramekins of random screws I kept, and I was very careful how I moved those over. And then I couldn't find them. So finally, I was looking around, and I was smart. What I did was I had this really small Ziploc bag, and this way I didn't have to empty these, right? I'm trying to pack things up real quick. We're not going that far. And I found them. I'm like, okay, I am ready for a show. So all of that was done Wednesday and Thursday. And thankfully, this arrived in time, because this is really the method I would recommend you use. These cables are so cheap, and you can reuse them over and over. And if you have any SSDs lying around, SATA SSDs, you could turn them into basically flash drives. All you have to do is plug the cable in. You don't need an enclosure. The case is the enclosure. The actual circuitry is all protected. So putting this in an enclosure is actually a bad idea, because it traps all the heat. So what I would do is just take the bare drive, plug the USB to SATA cable right into it, and boom, any USB port on any computer of any age will read and write to this no differently than any flash drive. So it's a great way to repurpose any drives you've got lying around. And why not? Who has too many flash drives? I mean, I've got too many, but it's not enough. So for this project, I'm assuming there's a 3.5-inch, full-size desktop drive in here. And the easiest way to install it will be to use one of these adapters. Now, not all 3.5-inch to 2.5-inch drive adapters are the same. I like these because, 1, they're made of metal. They're not plastic. 2, the screw that the holes for the screws are in the same position as a 3.5-inch hard drive, using the same screws as a 3.5 hard drive, all in the same place. Some systems don't allow for the relocation of the mounting screws on pretty much every 3.5-inch to 2.5-inch adapter I have ever seen, except this one is the only one that follows the rules. So anywhere a 3.5-inch drive would go, this I guarantee will fit. The others, maybe they will, maybe they won't. This is the only one that stays true to the form factor of the screw locations. Even the location of the SATA connector is exactly in the same spot. What that means is when you have a drive tray you're sliding in, you can't move the location down here. It won't line up with the connector. Some motherboards, like the Alienware that I demonstrated the hard drive upgrade on, you absolutely have to use this adapter if you're going to a 3.5-inch drive, a 2.5-inch drive from a 3.5-inch drive. So we had this mechanical drive that was slowing this Alienware down. We wanted to put an SSD in it. These are only available as 3.5-inch drives. These are only available as 2.5-inch drives. And I needed something that would line up exactly with not only where the holes were, but also where the connector is. So it should be exactly like a 3.5-inch drive. This is the only one I found that meets that requirement. And these are about $12 a piece. They're not cheap. There are ones that are $3 and $4 a piece. And that might be all you need. But because I run a business, I bought a bunch of these because these will always work 100% of the time. The other ones, maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't have time for that game. I'm just buying the ones I know work, and they get installed whether it's a cheaper one would have sufficed. I don't care. I get the job done, and I don't have to worry about it. So I still had several of these left over, and I still have a couple of SSDs left over, and I thought, this ought to make a good video. So once we've copied our data over, we can then just swap the drives out. So let's boot this up and let me show you how slow it is. It's painfully slow. Like I say, the updates were painful. Let's go to, let's see here. We'll plug in our power adapter. And I think I already have a cloverleaf plug I can use. Yeah. There it is. No, that's my regular power cable. Here it is, right here. And we'll plug that in. Okay, next, I need HDMI and internet. So we'll grab the HDMI and the internet here. And we will plug that in here. I should probably have my glasses on so I can figure out which way the cable goes in. I'm not doing it, fighting it. HDMI right there. And then finally our keyboard and our mouse. So let me grab that, and let me grab this. All the ports are in the back. I think, what do we have up front? We have a headphone jack, headset jack, and a USB port up front. What the heck, let's plug it into the one up front. Okay, now somewhere there's a power button. Oh, power button is also back here. So I'm gonna hit the power on this. Does it light up or do? Yeah, so it lights up, we get a little light. Whoa, the fan just came on. Let's jump over to our capture card. Let's see what it's doing. Here we go. So I haven't opened this, I haven't altered it in any way. I did need to get a power supply. But, you know, to find these deals that you hear people on YouTube talking about, I bought a computer for $6. That's pretty untypical. And if there is such a thing, it'll go very, very quickly. So you either have just dumb luck that you caught it just in time when you were browsing, or you have an alert set up, an automated search alert. And that search alert happened while you were awake and could respond to it. Otherwise, you know, by the time you wake up and you see your search alert in your email that arrived hours earlier, the deal's already, you know, somebody's already bought it. So, okay, so you can see I've got the username of user. And the boot up time wasn't too terrible, but it's not fast. We're still working our way to the desktop. And you know, while we're waiting, let me check out the chat room. Let's see what you guys are saying in here while I'm waiting for the desktop to load. William Dawson said, same old story, you move things and get lost. They're here. They're absolutely here. I just don't have time to go. It's a lot of stuff to go through, and I am going through it a little bit every day. I will get to it. Nick Caffrey says, why does it have a Bang & Olufsen logo on the front? Was it sold as a music streamer? I believe that HP had a contract with that audio company to make computer speakers. And I don't know if this was sold as a streamer. I'm not sure what the marketing was. It certainly makes a good HT PC, like a home theater PC. But universally, I think all HP laptops and desktops of this era all had Bang & Olufsen either external speakers or built-in speakers. It was a business contract. So I don't know what the audio on this sounds like. I haven't tried anything on it, but I can't imagine it's going to be that good. Alan Lindas was $7.77 in Super Chat, said, okay, here's my late fee. Thank you, Alan. And Peter VZ joining us from the Netherlands with €1.40 in Super Chat. Thank you, Peter. Oystein found the power adapter for $177 US. Nick Caffrey found the power adapter for $150 US. Joe Martin found it for $167.32. Bajan guy found it for $50. See what I'm saying? There's people just really wanting to rip you off. Mark Baggett said that power adapter, he found it for $100. Luke Greenia, $90. Yeah, ridiculous that the power adapter would cost more than the whole computer. And people are happy to take your money. They're happy to sell you this $20 power adapter for $150. And unfortunately, there's more of them than there are honest sellers. So, you know, here we are. Alaz says that's a 5-minute boot. Well, I don't know. Was it that long? Let's go back over here so I can see it full screen. Full screen. And let's take a look at, so we've got this, learn about this picture, this whole thing with this latest Microsoft update on Windows 10 and 11. If you want this, make sure you get all your latest Windows updates. If you do have your latest Windows updates and you can't find it, you'll right-click and your desktop and go to Personalize. And then under Personalize, after you get this latest cumulative update, which may be optional for you, it's called Windows Spotlight. And you just select your background as Windows Spotlight. Or you could set it back to a picture, solid color, slideshow pictures. So this is Windows Spotlight. That's what it's called. And it's just a free thing that Microsoft is imposing on people as a feature. So if we look at the specs of the system, right-click, go to right-click, sys, not Event Viewer. You want Event Viewer. I gotta wait for Event Viewer to load. Well, I'll tell you what. Right-click, System. No, there it is. There we go. Intel Core i3 6100T. That's a 3 gigahertz processor, 8 gigs of RAM. Windows 10 Home Edition 22H2. And then if we right-click and go on to the Device Manager, of course, we're using the integrated graphics on the CPU. So under Display Adapters, we have the HD Graphics 530 from Intel that's built into the chip, the CPU. Under our network adapters, we have an Intel Wireless AC3168 with a Realtek PCI 1 gig LAN. You know, back in the day when this was sold, this was an entry level, this was cheap, all right? An i3, you really couldn't go any lower on your processor. I don't think they had anything lower than this at the time. So when people were bargain shopping for a deal and they saw this thing, they thought it was cool. And for the price, they thought they were getting a deal when they were just buying essentially a trash can. But it is kind of cool to look at, and it would make a great home theater PC. So I thought if I grab my, where's my utilities flash drive? Let's plug that in and let's check out like CPU-Z, Crystal Disk Mark, that sort of thing. So let's come over here and we'll go to, here it is. And we want PC testing software, Crystal Disk Mark. Let's grab Crystal Disk Info. Let's grab CPU-Z. I think that's all we need. Okay, so where do we start? CPU-Z. See how long this takes to initialize. Hey, that wasn't bad. Okay, verifies our CPU. Oh, our main board showing F11 is the latest BIOS. We could check that right now. So just go to HP, hello, there it is, HP support. Now this is going to be an out of support machine, but we should still have downloads available. They're not going to be the latest, but they'll be the last ones they ever did. So we're going to call this, yeah, is this a desktop? Is this a laptop? Does it fall under other? I'm going to say it's a desktop, I guess. And it says enter your serial number or product number, which I guess is somewhere on this unit, maybe on the bottom of it. Let me flip it upside down and take a look-see. Yikes, that is really, really small print. There should be like an automated way to look. Let HP detect your product. All right, you'll be given 2 to 3 prompts in a separate window. You must choose open or OK to continue. OK. HP web product detection is starting up, waiting for actions to be completed. So this is the other thing. I wonder if this is compatible with the latest updates to Explorer in Chrome. I don't know. If you weren't seeing the pop-ups, click here. You only need to do this once by choosing to install. Yeah, okay. HP support is downloaded. There it is. Very good. We'll open that and run it. Let's see. Okay, I have to be patient with this computer. I am so used to instantaneous responses. All right, next, I agree, install. And this will save me the hassle of having to read the bottom of this unit because it's faded and it's tiny. And I'd have to get out my big magnifying glasses to read that. Either that or take a picture of it with my phone and then, you know, make it bigger. So let's take a look. Please wait while the setup wizard performs the requested operations. This may take a few minutes. You think? Now, while we're waiting here, let me jump over to the chat room real quick. Do you think this was a deal or did I get ripped off? David Graham with a $5 super chat says, thank you, Carey, for teaching me everything I used to know, bad memory and stuff I never knew. Right on. Right on. Thank you, David. I'm still waiting for responses in the chat room. Did I waste my money on this? What do you think? I was really hoping it was something we could diagnose and repair, but we can at least upgrade it because it works fine. Marco B joins us and says hello. Crystal says hello. Alaj says it's slow, but it looks cool. It's Hot Dog PC version 3. Oh, it's definitely a hot dog build for sure. All right, let's let that continue. David Graham says, nah, you didn't get ripped off. You can use it for other stuff. Well, I mean, I can use it as a media PC until Windows 10 is done. So I can get a little over a year out of it. Man, there's a lot of OKs you got to give this thing. You got to love security here. HP is identifying your product. Please wait. Here we go. Barry Klein says, well, being a waste of money is up for debate. It's clearly a better purchase than a Cybertruck PC. Man, there's some really strong feelings about that mini PC that looks like a Cybertruck. And that's a lot more money. That's about $600. And I mean, nobody I thought it was pretty cool. But I stand alone with the audience because not a single member of the audience thought that that was cool. I felt the same way about the sneaker PC too, and that's a $1,400 computer case. You guys are saving me from wasting my money. Okay, there's our computer right there, auto-detected. Saved us the effort of typing it in, although I'm sure we could have typed it in a lot faster. Okay, it's Windows 10, 64-bit, and now it's going to show us available downloads. What I'm interested in is the BIOS. There's only 2 BIOSes. F50, F50, F38. Those are giant jumps, 38 to 50. And what did I say we were on? Whoops, where's my minimize? Can't see it. Is it F? I gotta make my screen bigger. Right click, full screen. F11 to F50. That's a massive jump in BIOS. Okay, so I guess let's eject my flash drive here. dump that out. Eject. And let me get an empty small flash drive I use for BIOSes. I just have this 8 gig flash drive that I keep blank for just such an occasion. And then we're going to go to back over to the website, and we're going to download that BIOS. F50. Look how big it is. 17 versus 8.5 on the previous one. It doesn't seem right. I mean, I should see F11 in the list here, but maybe HP doesn't keep it there for a reason. I will download and install manually. HP always wants you to download their download manager. It's a pain in the butt. Okay, so we've downloaded that. And congrats, your download has started. You only did. All right, so we'll go to the downloads folder. It should be in there. This SP, that's the BIOS file. I'm going to double click. Yes. Next. Agree. Next. Next. Now this extracted the files to our C drive. So if we go over to our C drive, we have this weird, is it under SW setup? And then SP11, that's where HP extracts all their files. This is not confusing at all. Let's see, CVA file. Let me view the extensions. Let's go to View, show me the file extensions. So we do have an exe file here, and what was this one? Was this an exe? So clearly they want us to click on this. Let's run it as administrator just to be safe. Yes. And I should favorite this in case I need to come back. There we go. Okay, so the window was there. It was just hidden behind the other windows. This update is for BIOS 81C9 version. Please select Update. Yes, that's what I want to do. Next. Requires a restart. So maybe I don't even need my flash drive on these. Looks like it'll do it right through Windows. If we're patient. There we go. Copying the update. Okay. BIOS update was prepared. Now we restart. So I guess what it's going to do is it's going to restart into a temporary boot mode. That's the BIOS flash mode instead of to Windows. And then when the BIOS flash mode is done, it like removes itself from startup and then it boots back into Windows normally. I believe that's how this works, but let's find out. We're live and unscripted, unrehearsed. I have no control over the outcome of this. Ideally, everything should go smooth, right? It's just a matter of being patient, especially on an older machine. And that BIOS update was like from 4 years ago, which tells me that the BIOS update or the BIOS version on this is older than that. Because I think if you noticed on the screen there, it said the BIOS was dated, I think, 2020. Now the no signal, that means it's rebooting. There's our HP logo or a post. And then it should start, here we go. An important system BIOS update is available and it's counting down. So you have to respond, apply update now. And now we're off to the races. Here we go. This is a little different of a procedure than what you might be accustomed to with the home builds and stuff you typically see on the enthusiast channels, and even what we do here when we're using MSI, ASRock, ASUS, or Gigabyte. The process is usually done in the BIOS. However, some of them do have the ability to upgrade the BIOS through Windows using their motherboard app. Like Gigabyte has the @BIOS app, but that is a sub app that from the main system app that you download. And they all have these system apps for, like ASUS has the driver updates and Aura Control all in their system app, but not a BIOS update, I don't think. And ASRock, in some of the BIOSes, you can check for updates in the BIOS, which I have found to be very flaky and unreliable. Now, this is likely the very last system BIOS that ever came out, right? In 2020, there's never going to be another one. This is retired, it's put to bed. HP's moved on. They're not paying any of their employees to work on developing this any further. So I'm positive that this will be the last BIOS we ever have to put on this. After that, you just remain vulnerable to whatever future BIOS updates that would have come out for a reason. And those reasons if you insist on using the machine on the internet, you will remain vulnerable to. And as more time goes on, the system becomes more vulnerable. That's just the way it works. There's just a lot of bad guys out there, unfortunately, who just randomly, will go after you because you're easy to get, So these kind of steps we take as a preventive measure. It's free. You just have to take the time to do it. And I'm here to demonstrate that for you. And this includes updates to your router, unless you're renting your router from your internet service provider. But if you bought your own router, you need to service that yourself. And that means checking it for updates, keeping Windows updated, keeping your BIOS updated. Anything connected to the internet, you need to always update it for security. Or if you choose not to, you can just react when something happens. That is definitely not the way I would want to do it, but you can be proactive or reactive. The choice is yours. So here we are now with, we're almost done. And I don't know if this is the end of the process or it moves on to something else after this. So I want to make sure we get all this applied first, and then we'll do our clone using Acronis, and then we can open it up, remove the drive, remove the RAM stick, replace the drive and replace the RAM, and then put it back together. And this should be a fairly fast system, for everyday work, right? For browsing the web, Microsoft Office documents, Adobe Acrobat, all that kind of stuff, PDF files. It should be respectably quick. Now, if you're going to use it for high resource intensive tasks, it's going to be very slow. So that would be the wrong tool for the job. As a home theater PC, it's more than enough to stream media to your television, while at the same time giving you internet access with a keyboard and mouse running Windows. Could be a nice addition to the living room. And it'll sit right next to the TV and look like it belongs. And I suppose you could Bluetooth your TV to it and use it as a speaker. I have not evaluated the sound quality of this, but I don't think it's going to be good. It's not a Bluetooth speaker. You could use it as one, but I can guarantee just by looking at it, a Bluetooth speaker is going to sound way better than a computer that's pretending to look like a Bluetooth speaker. Okay, system BIOS update is complete. Upon restarting, the screen may blank for a few minutes and various LED lights may flash. Please do not attempt to interrupt or power down during this time. The countdown, 3, 2, 1, boom. So if you don't read that quickly, you're like, what's going on? Just be patient on a BIOS update. No matter what, universally, whether it's a laptop BIOS update, a desktop BIOS update, an Android update, leave it alone. When it's done, it'll be very obvious when it's done. So you'll see the no signal there, right? And it says, leave it alone, don't touch it. So while we're waiting, let me put myself in the corner just so it doesn't confuse you that you've lost me. So let me put my video right up here so you can see what's going on. And the power light is still on this thing. I haven't touched it. And it says, be patient, leave it alone. And you see it's turned itself back off again and now back on again. This is all normal. Not just for this HP, but even for motherboards that you've built yourself, for laptops. You need to let the BIOS update do what it needs to do. And now it looks like it's finished in loading Windows, and then we'll bring up CPU-Z and see if we have that BIOS version 2.50 verified in CPU-Z. So again, I don't know what our boot time is here, but it takes a couple minutes, and I'm sure it'll be a night and day difference by changing out that mechanical drive for an SSD. That single upgrade itself is probably going to make the all difference in the world. And upgrading the RAM from 8 to 16, it'll make a little bit of a difference depending on how it's used. If you're going to open up a lot of windows or a lot of tabs at the same time, that 16 is going to really boost your performance. But if you're just doing one thing at a time, you may not see much of a boost with 16. But Windows 10 all by itself will use all 8 just what it needs to run. Anything else it's going to swap out to the hard drive as virtual RAM. And because the hard drive is so slow, then the virtual RAM creation and access is very slow. So you can see how that one hard drive, that one storage device, brings the whole system down. And so just changing that will make the most noticeable difference on any mechanical drive versus SSD. The SSDs are also cheaper. Sorry, they're not cheaper, they're more expensive, but they're smaller, they're lighter, they're far more reliable, and they use less power, and they don't make any noise. Why anybody uses a mechanical drive outside of a network attached storage device, or maybe an external drive, having one in your machine these days, to me, doesn't make any sense. If you need that large capacity, how are you going to back that up, man? You got a 24 terabyte drive in your computer? I hope it's nothing that's important. Those drives are nowhere near as reliable as SSDs. They're noisy, chattery, they use more power, and when they crash, all your stuff is gone. So how are you going to back that up? So if you keep it external, first of all, that helps. That's still not a backup. But if you keep it external, hopefully you have at least 2 external drives of similar size or capacity so that you can maintain a duplicate copy of your files in case something goes wrong, rather than sticking the drives in the machine. I understand why we did that, and I understand now why we don't do that anymore. At least if it's important. If you're just loading games on it and you just want it for your games, who cares? You know, it could die, nobody cares. But if it's important and you got that much important stuff, that's not the best way to be keeping it. But let's see, Mike Ely with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Mike. Peter VZ with a €1 super chat. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mike. Okay, so let me go back full screen over here so I can see it. Oh, that's me. I don't need to see me. Let's get rid of me. Get me out of there. And let me go full screen over here. And let's go back to CPU Z. And we'll verify that we have 2.5 now. So if everything worked the way it should, we'll have the latest and last BIOS. Oh, it's 5, not 2.5. It's 0.50. Released in 2020, December of 2020. So almost 4 years ago. Yeah, we're not going to be seeing another BIOS update. Very unlikely. Now, if we look at Crystal Disk Info, let's take a look at what's the drive. HP likes to use Toshiba. And Toshiba, in my opinion, are the slowest, most unreliable hard drives ever made. I see more bad Toshiba mechanical drives than any other brand. Having said that, this one's in good shape. It's been on 18,900 hours, which is equivalent to being left on for 2 years, 57 days, and 10 hours. It's kind of its odometer. It's been powered on 2,765 times. Oh, it's a 7200 spin. That's a fast one. So when I say fast, you see how it says SATA 600? We'll be lucky to get a third of that on a mechanical drive. So let's verify this. Let's see what our speed is, because I suspect we're not going to see more than 200 out of this thing. Whoops, I didn't want that. Nope. Let's go to 64. Yes. And let's just do the sequential on this, because I don't want to be here all day. If this hits 200, I'll be surprised. If it goes over 200, I'll eat my hat. I don't have a hat. 174, okay. Phew, I wasn't hungry for hat today. 174.79, very cool. I'm sure on a hard drive, the write speed should be about the same. Should be about 175. With SSDs, a lot of times the write speed is going to be slower than the read speed. But on hard drives, it's usually the same. Hey, we bumped up. We went to 189. Okay, so that is our final number, 189. Now, on a solid state drive, we're typically looking around 520 to 560, 550. So we'll easily go 2.5 times the speed of a mechanical drive. And since this mechanical drive is 1 terabyte and the SSD is 1 terabyte, we're not losing any capacity in doing this swap out. We're just significantly increasing our speed. So 189 and 174. Let's save that as a way that we can compare in a few minutes. Save the image. We'll save it as a JPEG, and we're going to call it Crystal Disk Mark Toshiba. And let's put it on the desktop. Right there. Save. Now, if you recall, earlier we downloaded the BIOS update, which was, okay, and the support framework, which is the auto detect software. So we can delete these, we don't need them anymore. And it extracted into that SW setup folder. And I don't want to leave that there anymore either, so I'll right click and delete that. There's no reason anybody would need to reuse that. And if this were to go to an end user, I don't want them clicking on it going, oh, what's this? I mean, in theory, it shouldn't hurt anything, but let's just get rid of that altogether, and it never becomes an issue. All right, so that's done. Now, what else can I test? I think that's the point, right? Let's test our boot up time. Let's do a restart, and you guys can see the time. You ready? 3, 2, 1, restart. Now, let's check how much time it takes for the computer to restart and get back to the desktop. And then we'll do that again after we get the SSD installed, and we'll see what the difference is. I think it's going to be very significant. I think it's going to cut the time into a quarter or a third of what it is now. That's how much faster it's going to be. Also, adding that extra, 8 gigs of RAM, so we have a total of 16, that ain't going to hurt either. But how much difference that makes won't be as impactful as simply getting rid of that mechanical drive. That's how bad mechanical drives are. Now, on network attached storage, your limit is your network speed, so who cares, right? We upgrade to 10 gig on a Synology with 4 mechanical drives. The best we can get is right around 800. That's 200 a piece for each of the 4 drives. 200, 400, 600, 800. It's not rocket science. We're going to need 5 or 6 or 7 drives to achieve a full 1,000 megabytes per second to fully take advantage of the 10 gig. And that's money, money, money. And if speed is important to you, it wouldn't matter if we went to SSDs on that. Essentially, in order to saturate the 10 gig bus, we need a faster processor in the NAS, and we need to have multiple NVMe drives, essentially. You'd have to pump out 1,000 a piece, 1,000 megabytes a piece from at least 10 NVMe drives, I think is what it would take to saturate that. So that also requires a processor that has that many lanes, and that's going to just be more money, more money, more money. All right. Did I lose you in any of that? You can check your clocks and see how long that took. I'm not quite sure. I wasn't timing it myself. But for you at home watching us, this is all live and unrehearsed and unscripted, and everything you're seeing is happening in real time. So the way this machine was sold for 80 bucks, I think it's a pretty good deal, personally. The price of a 1 terabyte, 3.5-inch SSD they're pretty cheap these days, 50 bucks maybe. And the cost of the RAM is probably 30 bucks maybe. So you'd put another 80 into it. Although you could also buy a brand new mini PC for $160. That's like an N100 from Minisform, and get a brand new under warranty PC for less than the cost of upgrading this that we have now. And that's already going to have the RAM and the storage already in there, but it'll be Windows 11 compliant, where this is not. And at the end of the day, you'll spend less money and have a machine under warranty that you could send back to Amazon within 30 days, not a buy as is, no return situation like what I did. But I'm a tech, and I thought this would make good content. All right, that's it. That's the only reason I bought it. It was for you guys. This is for you. And I hope this is what you want to see. All right, let me get rid of my flash drive here, because it turns out we did not need my BIOS, my empty flash drive I use for BIOSes. So I'll get that unplugged. And let's see, how do I want to do this? Oh, let's go back to camera 1 for a moment. Let's go full screen. Full screen on camera 1. There we go. So we're ready to clone. And there's a lot of ways you can clone a drive. I personally like Acronis. There are other cloning utilities that are free. You're going to get no support, no guarantees. I'm in business. I need this to work. I want it to be the same every time. And so I use Acronis. I've been using it since at least 2009. I probably was using it before then, but I remember Acronis TrueImage Echo from 2009. And hard drives, they would fail left and right. I was doing a lot of hard drive replacement and repairs, upgrades, until SSDs became affordable. Now I rarely ever see computers come in with bad power supplies or bad SSDs. It's so much different now than it was just 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And the way this is going to work is I'm going to plug this SSD using the $6 adapter from Amazon. Hey, Mara? I don't know if she can hear me. Mara?
Yes.
Can we add the $6 adapter to the show notes?
USB,
Yeah, the SATA to USB.
Yep.
I can't believe it was only $6. And I was a little stressed out that it was arriving late, but it did get here before showtime. So, of course, they don't know that. All right, let's plug this in and give this a second to initialize and recognize. Now, as I mentioned, this is a clean install of Windows on here. I don't have to clone this. I could simply replace the drive and reinstall Windows. But I'm taking this under an assumption that if you at home are watching, that you've got a computer that you've got all your stuff on, you don't want to reinstall your stuff, under that premise, we're going to clone this. Once this is cloned, then we swap the drives out and it should boot up. It look exactly the same. We should not lose our Windows activation, although if you have products from Intuit like Quicken and QuickBooks, that's going to look like piracy to them. And you're going to have to reactivate your software in those cases. But Windows should reactivate, no problem, because it's tied to the motherboard. The license is tied to the board, not to any of the extra components. So in theory, that's how it all should work. Now, if I go back over to what's going on here with camera 2, we should have this drive, let me see, full screen. Hopefully this is like a brand new drive with no format. It's been sitting on a shelf. So if I go to this PC, do I see? Yeah, so it's not appearing here because it's not formatted. In fact, just for fun, just to make sure the adapter's working, because it's brand new, I've never used it, I'll type in disk management, and you don't even have to get that far before the create and format hard disk partitions option shows up, and I click enter on that, and a box should pop up automatically if it detects it on a, oh, okay, it's unallocated. So in other words, this already has a partition. That's why we didn't get the pop-up box. It has not been, the partition's not been removed. And if we create a new simple volume on it, click next, click next, click next, click next, click finish, we now have a D drive. And that's the drive I just plugged in. And I could start using this drive right now. I don't have a D drive. Where is it? What happened? I'm probably too impatient. Disk management. It may be formatting. Maybe I'm just too impatient. Normally, when you do this on a modern computer, it's very quick, although it depends on the size of the drive. Yeah, it's still formatting. So it depends on the drive. It also depends on if your USB is 2.0, 3.0. We're obviously going to be USB 2 on a machine this old. It's painfully slow. That also means that our Acronis image cloning is going to be equivalently as slow. The benefit of waiting is that it's still faster than reinstalling all of your applications. A machine like this, you're not going to be able to upgrade your USB ports. On a typical desktop, you can buy like an add-in card from Silverstone and add USB 4 if you want to. Is that a USB-C port? Oh, I think this has USB-C. I see. I don't know. This formatting is taking forever, though. Normally would not take this long. It should have been a quick format. I just dug myself into a hole because I don't want to interrupt it. I suppose I could. It's not going to like me if I do that. All right, finally it finished. Just a little patience. And now if we refresh this, where's my refresh? F5. All right, I'll just close it and reopen it. Whoops. Close this. Can I right click and refresh? Huh. I should see a D drive here. This PC. Let's go back to disk management. New volume. Do I assign a drive letter? I don't know why it's not giving me a drive letter. I want to try unplugging this from the USB port, and then I want to plug it right back in. Unlike a mechanical drive, I don't need to wait for it to spin down before plugging it back in. And I'm just kind of curious if it identifies the drive. I hope there's nothing wrong with this drive. Let's go to the command prompt and let's do an administrative, run as administrator. And then let's type in disk part, enlist disk, and we should see, yeah, disk 1. And let's type select disk 1 and then clean it. This will wipe it completely clean. No partitions, no data. Completely resets the drive like it's brand new out of the box. So now, when I go to disk management, it should have that automatic pop-up that it recognizes the drive. There it is. And it asks me if I want GPT or MBR. It doesn't matter. Depends on how old your operating system is. And then it creates this unallocated partition. We can right-click and do a new simple volume. Click next, click next, click next. Perform a quick format, yes. Did it ask us for a drive letter? Yeah, drive letter D. And then finish. And then when it's done, we should have drive letter D. That's how it should work. And then you can use this as a flash drive, right? You could start plugging it into all your computers and use it no different. Like if it's an older, smaller SSD you've got laying around. You can also do this with an NVMe drive, using an NVMe drive enclosure. We've talked about those. We've even given a bunch away from Silverstone here in the past. So there's no reason for this older stuff that you've upgraded to just sit around. You can repurpose it, keep it out of the landfill, and save you some money with regards to if you didn't have a drive to back up to now, you've had it all along. Just get the little adapter, plug it into USB, you're good to go. So you got the cost of the adapter. And depending on the adapters you buy, as little as $6 and as much as $150. They have some that are pretty nice. Okay, now it's got new volume, drive D. So now if I go to my computer, I should see drive D. There it is. So that's the SSD we're going to use. All right. Now, because we partitioned and formatted it to Acronis, it's going to look like, hey, you know, if you use this drive, just an FYI, you're going to lose all your data on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the command prompt. I just wanted to make sure everything's working. I'm going to run it as administrator again. I'm going to type disk part and list disk, and we want to make sure we've got disk 1. We'll select disk 1, and then we're going to clean it one more time. And that resets it back to factory. Because they're both 1 terabyte drives, Acronis is going to ask me, do I want to copy from disk 1 to disk 0 or disk 0 to disk 1? So by cleaning disk 1, Acronis knows automatically that's going to be our target. It won't have to ask. It's going to say, you want to copy, you know, disk 0 is your source, right? You're like, yeah, of course. And then it'll say, okay, it'll search for a minute, find our solid state drive. It'll say, you want to copy it to this unpartitioned, unused 1 terabyte SSD. I click yes. It goes to work, and when we're done, it should be that easy. So I'll exit this, and we'll go back to camera 1 here for a second. All right, so you don't have to do everything I've shown you. I'm showing you ways to format the drive to use it as a flash drive. I'm showing you ways to test the drive to make sure it works. And I'm showing you ways to reset the drive back to factory, removing all data and partitions with the command prompt and the disk part. This goes back to the DOS days when I was first learning the IBM compatible PCs. With DOS, what version of DOS was I using? 3 point something. And that was a little different from how Atari, which I had in TRS-80. I used the Model 1 and the Model 3 daily for a couple of years. When I got my Atari 400, it's a different operating system and everything's menu-based. You didn't have to type anything. A to rename, you know, B to create a new folder. It was just a menu from A to Z. And then with DOS, we were going back like to the TRS-80 with DOS commands. And I had a manual, and I already knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to make a directory. I just didn't know how to do it. So I'd look in the index, go, how do I make a directory? I go to that, and that's how I learned. I did not read the book. I just said, okay, I knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't know the command to do it. And one of those commands that's been around since those early days is diskpart. And that was the only way you could do it back then. And they've left that in the background of Windows. Those DOS features are still there. DOS, disk operating system, it's still all there. So with that history in mind, let me find my Acronis Rescue flash drive, which I should have. Probably should put my glasses on. Okay, this is the latest version of Acronis TrueImage. This is a rescue disk. Everybody should have a rescue disk if you're using Acronis. And the idea is that if your computer won't boot, how do you do your recovery? You don't want to have to reinstall Windows and then reinstall your backup software so you can do your recovery. That doesn't make any sense. You need some kind of a rescue disk. So let me plug this in. Any USB port will work. Give that a second. Now, hopefully, the HP saw that. Now remember, we only have those two USB ports back here, and then there's a USB-C. So we're using Acronis in one, Acronis Rescue in one USB, and our target drive is the other USB. That's it. And then our front USB we're using for our keyboard and mouse. There is a USB-C and a card reader back here, and a DisplayPort output. That's all there is. We're out. So this doesn't have a lot of ports on it. And because the Acronis Rescue disk and the target drive are using the same pair of USBs, it's probably going to be slow. But let's find out. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's go back over to our capture card here. Now, when you boot the computer, you can always hit, F2 or F12 or whatever it is to change from booting from the internal drive to the external one. So what I want to do here is I'll go to Settings. Well, first of all, let me make sure that the Acronis drive is even being seen. Oh yeah, it's there. So under Update and Security, I go to Advanced Options. No, hold on, it's been a while. I thought it was Advanced Options. Well, we're going to go over here, back to Update and Security, and we'll go over to Troubleshoot. No, Recovery. Let's go to Recovery. I'll get this figured out. And we're looking for this Advanced Startup. That's what I'm looking for. I'm going to say Restart Now. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to restart into a different menu. Instead of booting into Windows, it boots to this menuing system. And that menu can get you into the BIOS if you're having trouble getting into your BIOS. And if we click Use a Device, that tells us we want to boot to a device. It says what device? You want to boot to your network controller. There's another network controller. There's a USB hard drive. There's a USB CD drive. See, I don't know which one's the Acronis. I think it's this UEFI CD DVD drive. USB floppy. Could be that too. I'm going to just try. Oh, wait, it says see more devices. Huh. Wow, there's a lot of boot options here I didn't realize I'd have. Use a device. I think, I'm not sure, but I think it's this one. So let's see if Acronis loads. If not, I can always go into the BIOS and do a manual boot override, which might be a little clearer than that was. Or I could temporarily unplug the solid state drive and then wait for Acronis to load, then plug it in, and then I'll have fewer options. So I just have a black screen right now. I'm assuming that's what you're seeing too. So let me put camera 1 up in the corner so you can see something's happening here. that you haven't lost me. And I'll put myself up here like this. So you'll see nothing's wrong with your picture or your connection. It's just what I'm seeing as well. And it should not be taking this long. This is ridiculous. However, I'm just going to give it a minute. Take your time. Bill says, take your time. I really don't have the patience for this. Like, this should already be loading. Something's wrong. So I'm going to force it off. I'm going to just unplug the power. I don't need to use this. We'll just pull the power cable out. That is not the power cable. That was my HDMI cable. My bad. Plug that. Why is it not going back in? Because I'm trying to plug it into the DisplayPort hole. It's not going to fit. All right, so we're getting a no signal on this. I'm going to pull the power cable this time. All right, now the power light is off. I'm going to plug it back in, turn it back on. Ooh, that fan gets loud there at boot up. Let's try hitting F2. For memory test, hard drive check, language exit. I don't want F2. Are you sure you want to exit? Yes. Let's just go to delete, 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 delete. Nope, I missed it. HP, use escape or F9 for boot selection. That's from Doman 2000. Hey, thank you very much for that. That's what we need to do. Escape. There's no other motherboard manufacturer I know that uses escape to get to the boot menu. That's really weird. A lot of times the standard is F12, but it does change from manufacturer to manufacturer, and I really wish they'd all agree on something, because Dell will do it differently, and Acer will do it differently, and HP will do it differently. And unless you're just working on those all day, I mean, good luck remembering all that. And there's Victor also mentioning HP uses escape or F9 during the post or power on self-test. So I don't want to damage Windows. I want to go ahead and let it load. If I didn't care about Windows, I'd just pull the plug and, I could corrupt files that way. So let's try that again. Let's do a start, shut down, restart. And I'll try hitting escape at the right time. And hopefully we'll get our boot menu. This is probably the hardest part of using a rescue disk. But because you're not working on hundreds of computers like I am, you just have yours at home. And once you learn it, it's really no big deal. When you have to learn it for somebody's computer one time, and then you don't see another computer like that for a few months, it's very hard to retain it. Press escape for startup. I'm hitting escape. Okay, what do we got? Startup menu, system information, system diags, boot device options, F9. Okay, F9. This is what I want. SanDisk, 3.2 Gen 1. That's what I want right there. That's going to be our Acronis rescue disk. A data is the drive that's not initialized, so it should not even show up as an option. This time, we should load off the USB flash drive. The Acronis rescue disk should be loading now. Hopefully. I've also seen USB flash drives that certain motherboards don't like them. And you plug a certain USB flash drive in and the motherboard won't even power on. In this case, everything's working like it should now, once I know what I'm doing. And then we'll wait for the Acronis initialization to occur and get to the home page here and start the process. So I've left the target drive plugged in, and this part here shouldn't take this long, but again, once we replace the hard drive and the RAM, even doing this will be so much faster. So let me get rid of camera 1. Let's close that out, and let's go full screen on camera 2 for me. Okay, now I can see. What we want to do is go up here to Tools, Tools and Utilities, and we want to clone the disk. That's what we're doing today. We're cloning. Not making a backup. We're making a clone. And we're going to use the automatic mode and go to next. Now, it shows us our internal drive and it shows us our rescue disk. That's our flash drive, not the solid state drive. Remember, because I cleaned it, it's got no partition, no format. So it's saying, what is the drive you want to clone from? What is the source? That source is going to be that Toshiba drive. And I hit next. And it looks around to say, okay, let's see what you have available that could hold that much data. It doesn't have to be the same size drive. It just has to have the capacity of data to hold the original source. So if you've got 500 gigs on your source drive, you need a 500 gig target drive or larger. So that's what it's doing right now. It's calculating how much data do we have on the source and how much space is available on any connected drive, whether it's internal, USB, whatever. But not to the NAS and not to a network drive. That can be done a different way, which we're not covering today. That's a bit more advanced and something we typically use in offices, right, to automate system images of backups of the workstations. But another topic for another day, and probably not applicable to most viewers, though you might be interested in it. Well, that's calculating. Let me put camera 1 back on since I won't be overwriting anything with my face. I guess I can move that a little bit. Come on, Carey. You can do it. Let's move it over here. There we go. And let's see what you're saying in the chat room. Some suggestions here, good suggestions for alternate ways to get a Windows menu or boot menu up. Crystal wants to know if I choose the Linux base or the Windows PE based Acronis Rescue. I have both. The SanDisk has the Windows PE base, which you see here, the, what's that called? Pre-installation environment. But I also have this little flash drive right here. That's the Linux version of the Acronis Rescue Disk. Same version of Acronis, but it loads in Linux instead of Windows. I always like to use the Windows version first. It's just, I don't know, I just prefer it. But if the Windows version isn't working for some reason, if there's some incompatibility or difficulty, I'll simply boot again to the Linux version, and usually one or the other takes care of it. In theory, they should both work equally, but it kind of depends on the hardware you're working on and what drivers it needs. But it's more of a personal choice. So for me, I try the Windows PE version first. Why did, oh, sorry, looking at something else. Bill mentions he used Acronis the other day and had no problems there. Charles Purdy with a $20 super chat. Thank you. Charlie Purdy says, can you put a link to the SSD tray if possible? Oh, the tray. Yes. I'm assuming they still make them, but we can absolutely add that. Did you? Hey, Mara? Yes. Did you add the that little adapter, the 2.5 inch to 3.5 inch physical tray to the show notes?
Sure.
It's made by a company called FenLink, F-E-N Link.
You get the box?
No, I don't have the box. But it looks like it's metal. It's FenLink.
F-E-N what?
Link. F-E-N-L-I-N-K.
Okay.
So, yeah. Hopefully they still make them. They're pricey. They were about 12 bucks a piece. But yeah, it's a great, yeah, we'll add that. We'll put Mara to work and we'll add it to the video notes. Fair question. When I buy so many of them, I don't think about, you know, the link. It'll be in my purchase history, I guess. I just have to find it, and if it's still available, share the link. This normally would not take anywhere near this long. This is a ridiculous amount of calculating time that Acronis is using right now. So in some cases, it's just faster to reinstall Windows, right? in other cases, like I mentioned, if you have a lot of data and programs and you don't want to reinstall or you can't reinstall those programs, you don't have much choice. And the older the computer is, the longer this is going to take. I want you to keep that in mind. I don't know how much your time is worth, but if you're not willing to upgrade for whatever reason, you know, you're just going to spend the money. You're going to spend the time instead of spending the money. And older computers are likely going to need more service and take longer to service. And finding parts can be difficult if you need any parts. And this idea that, well, I can't afford a new one, you'll spend more keeping the old one up to date. And that's assuming your time has no value at all. Sooner or later, you will have to replace the computer because it's obsolete and no longer being supported. And then it's, you know, it's not a toaster. It's not a kitchen appliance. This is not something that you buy once and keep it for 25 years and use it periodically. It's not going to work that way with a computer. It never has. They're evolving very quickly, and it's important that, in my opinion, you don't keep a computer any longer than 8 years. You can maybe stretch it out to 10. That's it. You go any longer than 10 years, you're just hurting yourself. The only person you're hurting is you. And whatever amount of money you think you're saving, you're not. You're likely spending far more. But that's my opinion. As you know, as a consultant in the industry, this is what I would tell you. You know, you're going to pay me more to service this, and I'm going to have to service it more often, and you're going to pay me for my time. And my time is way more than the cost of a new machine. So to give you an example, while we're waiting here anyway, let me jump over to Amazon. So I want to show you something here. I'm going to search for Minis Forum N100L, I think it's called. UN100P, that's what it's called. Let me show you this. I want you to understand the depth of what I'm saying. So I'm going to go over to my window capture here. And let me get rid of the corner image here. Let me get rid of myself. I want you to see the whole screen. This is a brand new computer. Minis Forum isn't paying me to tell you this. As a consultant advising a customer, and I'm treating you all that way, if you have an older machine and you don't think you can afford a new one, you're wrong. I guarantee you can afford this. This is the UN100P. It's a 12th gen N100, which is basically a Celeron. It's got 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM. It's 512 gig of NVMe storage. It's got a 4K triple display output, meaning you can have 3 monitors hooked up to this at the same time. It has 4 USB ports. It has a 2.5 gig LAN port. And this is intended for business use. Basically, compare it to what we bought for $80, plus we had to buy the power supply, as is, no warranty. That's the HP we bought and we're working on today, right? So $80 plus the 20 is around 105, and I'm upgrading the SSD and the RAM. So what's the SSD? 50 bucks. The RAM's probably 40 bucks. There's another 90. So we're at $196, and we're still running a Core i3. This UN100P with the Alder Lake N100 is a faster processor. We only got 8 gigs of RAM on this. This already has 16, and I don't think you can go any higher than that on an N100 processor. It's still DDR4 RAM. It's just going to be laptop style RAM instead of desktop style RAM. Yeah, we're getting half the space at 512 gig instead of 1 terabyte. But, you know, depending on what space you need, I would just plug in an external USB drive into it. You know, take the drive out of your old piece of crap computer, put an adapter on it, use that for your external extra storage. Don't try and put extra storage in these little mini PCs. They get too hot. You've got 4K triple display. Your old machine probably ain't going to do 4K, and you may not even want 4K, but it can do it. And not only is it $169.99, it's $10 coupon there right now, so it's $159. $159 under warranty, free 30-day returns. If you don't like it for any reason, you can send it back to Amazon for free and get a full refund. Why would you try and keep an old computer alive when you can get a much better, much faster, even though it's considered low-end by today's standards, it's high-end compared to a computer from, you know, the 6th generation days. This is 6 generations newer, right? We went from, basically we have this HP as a 6th gen Intel. This is a 12th gen Intel. And you're going, well, it's not, you know, 14th. You're right. If you want that, you can spend some more money and get that. But for this price, it doesn't make sense to hold on to an old computer anymore, risking your security. This computer is going to have Windows 11 on it. already. You don't have to worry about it. It's already done. And if you want, they have a couple different models here at different prices, right? If you look down here, there's the UN100D. Again, it's an N100 with only 8 gigs of RAM. There's the UN100L at $150 with only a 256 gig storage and 8 gigs. That's really bare bones. It's not bare bones, but it's bare. Then, of course, the UN100D. That this one is what's the difference on this one? D and the P look pretty similar. 169 and $10 coupon. I'm not sure what the difference is. 16 gigs, 512. All of that looks the same as the P, 100P. 12th gen N100. I don't know. I can tell you that I think it's a pretty good deal, and it doesn't make sense to go on eBay and buy one of these old used computers as is, unless you're a YouTube content creator and you're looking for content that you think your audience might enjoy. That's why we're here. But the smart move would have just been, if I'm broke and I can't afford it, get a brand new machine under warranty that already got all the security fixes in place, and you're good for probably another 5-6 years. Just saying, I think it's worth considering. All right. And Acronis is still working for some reason. Ridiculous. Let me go back over to the chat here. Again, it's not an advertisement for Minis Forum. I'm just telling you as it is, man. I'm just telling you, same thing I tell a paying customer. You're getting it for free. It's not going to be a fast PC, but compared to this, probably pretty decent. Let me check the phone since I'm waiting here anyway. See if I've missed anything. I think we're caught up here, which is good. I don't see anything new. Were you able to find the SSD tray?
Yes.
Was it added to the notes?
Yes.
Okay, Mara has added this device to the video notes if you're looking to buy one of these adapters. Is it still $12? If you're not seeing it, you need to hit the refresh button and reload. It's still 12 bucks? Wow. Some things never change. I don't know why this is taking so long. I might have to just give up and use the Linux distro if this is hung. I don't think it's hung up. I know this can take a while, but this is not normal for it to take this long. And I can only assume that it has to do with the lack of RAM and the type of hard drive that it is and the processor. Everything was very low end. This was a cheap computer when it was bought new. Just like that cheap Minis Forum I just showed you. If you need a computer temporarily and you don't have much money and you don't require a lot of speed or space, storage, know what you're buying. In most cases, it is cheaper in the long run to get something more mid-range, pay more for it today, and it'll last you longer. It'll save you money over time. When you're buying something cheap, if it breaks out of warranty, you might as well replace it. And how often you have to replace it or upgrade it will likely exceed the cost of buying a mid-range one today. But if you pay like a credit card, you might pay more in interest over time than whatever it was you charged on the card. So it's just cheaper if you're just going to make the minimum payment. It's cheaper to just pay cash. Otherwise, you're paying 2 to 3 times what it actually cost you. And if you don't have any money, you need to break that habit because that's going to keep you from ever having any money. And the people who do that are the people who can least afford it. So once you go down that abyss, you've got to stop those habits. You've got to immediately stop using the card. You've got to work on paying that card off and stop using it. And you will pay more than somebody with money will pay because of the interest and the length of time it's taking you to pay that off. That $169 computer might be $700 by the time you pay it off. And you could have just bought a $700 computer and been much better off. But if you can't afford it, don't put it on a credit card. Or that $700 computer is quickly going to become a $1,400, $1,500 computer. Oh, we got a gift card from Buster. Right on. Thank you so much, Buster. Very generous gift card. I don't know where we'd be without Buster. Peter Laycock is Buster, by the way, and his generosity is unbelievable. Absolutely, I'd say a super member, but he's more than that. He's a great friend and supporter of the channel, and hopefully one day we'll actually get to meet him. It's a good excuse to go to Scotland. We got our passports. You ready for Scotland?
Yes, let's go.
She's ready. Get out of this heat.
Definitely.
So I think I want to give up on this Windows PE version of Acronis. It's taking a very, very long time. And as I mentioned, this can take a couple minutes, even on a modern computer. Well, it does all the calculations. That's the benefit of clicking the automatic button, is it's making a lot of decisions that you don't have to. That other cloning software will, you got to go through a whole series of making decisions. This, you don't have to know all that. You just go automatic and let it do its thing, and everything auto resizes, and all the partitions are adjusted, and it's all automatic, and it's super easy, but it's never this slow. I've never seen it take this long before. Now, I'm sure if we wait long enough, it'll eventually get there. The question is, would it just be faster for us to boot to the Linux version of the Acronis Rescue? Or are we nearly there, in which case using the Linux Rescue will take longer? That's the decision to make. Now, in a business environment, if I was in a workshop, I would walk away and start working on something else. And then when I'm done with that, I'd come back and check on this. Because I don't have to sit here and wait for that when I've got other work to do. It'll wait for me when it's done. You understand? It's the most patient thing in the world waiting on you. So in a workshop, you obviously wouldn't make much money if you just did this one thing. Well, this is busy. You're doing a virus scan, a malware scan, installing a piece of software, downloading updates, using the Acronis clone tool. I'd be over here working on another computer. Maybe I'm cloning that. Maybe I'm Windows updating. Maybe I'm updating a BIOS. And then I'll come back over here. And I would usually do no more than 3 at a time. Because once you get to 4, for me, once I get to 4, I start getting confused. Did I run the Windows update? So 3 is about what I can handle. But here when we do the videos, we do 1 at a time. And it did finally finish. So apparently booting to the Linux Rescue would have taken us longer. Patience. So now the next step is, where do you want to clone the drive to? And we cannot clone it to itself, so that's grayed out. The only drive we can clone it to is the SanDisk. That's the one. No. That's not right. The SanDisk is our rescue disk. We don't want to clone to our rescue disk. We want to clone to the A data or the manufacturer of the USB adapter, which for some reason did not appear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug the SATA adapter. I want to make sure I'm fully plugged in here. I'm going to plug this back in just to give Acronis a chance to identify it. After waiting all of that time, you'd think it would have shown me the A data drive. Now, sometimes the drive adapter going from SATA to USB, that'll be the name of the drive that appears. So let me go back here. Let's see if this is even an option. Source disk. Source disk 1. You know what? Let's cancel it. Let's try it again. Tools. Clone. See, I can do the manual mode, but I want to choose automatic. Now, obviously, that drive won't show up here because it's a wiped drive. There's nothing to clone from it, so it would not be a disk 3 here. But on the next step, we should see a disk 3. And I'm wondering if something with that adapter or controller is what's causing Acronis to take so long. That's frustrating to wait that long and then not have it show up. So I don't know if it's because it's plugged in where it's plugged in. If I didn't have it plugged in all the way, I didn't touch it from when we were in Windows and I reset it. But, I don't want to sit here forever and end up with the same result. So tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to just cancel this, as I don't think I want to sit through it. I'm going to unplug power. I'm going to unplug my Windows PE version of Acronis. We're going to grab the Linux version. I've got the Linux Acronis Rescue Disk here, and we're just going to repeat this again. And you're going to see the interface is different. Those of you not familiar with Linux, you're going to see a Linux interface instead of a, and it's a bear, just like the Windows PE. Escape. I want to go to boot device options. Right there, UEFI Disk 2. Acronis CyberProtect Home Office. Number 1, that's what I want. See, even the Acronis startup is a little bit different. And you make this in the Acronis software under Tools. You can create a rescue disk, which is what I've done. And when you create the rescue disk, you can create a Windows, what we call a Windows PE rescue disk, or a Linux base, and I make one of each. And anytime there's a new update to Acronis, I recreate my rescue disks because I don't know what the updates are fixing, and I always want my rescue disk to have the latest options. Now look how much faster that loaded on this old machine. Linux is much easier on old machines. And we go to the same thing, right? We're going to go to Tools and Utilities. We're going to clone, automatic. This is way faster. Drive 1, yeah, our Toshiba, that's our source drive, right? Select the source disk. Is my camera in the way of it? Yeah, let me get rid of camera 1 here. All right, so we're selecting our source disk. And then next. Now again, it's going to go through this process, but it should take nowhere near as long as it did. When you have an older machine that's kind of struggling, Linux is it's a much lighter operating system, but there's not a lot of the software that you might use that will be a Linux version of it. And it's a different way to navigate that might, there's a couple things about Linux that might be discouraging for you to use. And one is the interface, and the other is there is a very toxic Linux community that wants to say they're better than you. And that may be reason enough to not want to associate with that community. There is not every Linux user, but there's a portion that acts superior to you. And that's enough for me to turn me off to the operating system because of how large that community is that behave that way. Now here we see disk 3, not initialized. That shows as external USB. That's the drive we want. It says select the target hard disk from the list below. Don't select your rescue disk, right? Make sure you're selecting your target because you're going to erase everything on the target. In this case, this drive isn't even initialized. There's nothing to erase. We hit next. It says, what are you trying to do here? You're going to replace the disk on the machine, or you're going to use it on another machine, or you're just going to use this as a data disk. We always want to replace a disk on the same machine when we're cloning. Hit next, and it gives us a summary. Okay, you're going to take the source disk of 1 and mirror it over to disk 3. All right, this is what it's going to look like right now. It's going to have all these partitions, and the green represents how much data. This empty space here is how much empty space. This is what you got now, which is nothing because it's not used. It's unpartitioned. It's like a brand new out-of-the-box drive. I hit proceed, and we're off to the races. Now, perhaps in retrospect, I should have just started with the Linux disk. We'd probably be done by now. And I should have thought about that. I should have thought about how old and how unequipped this machine is with that mechanical drive and only 8 gigs of RAM. Knowing Windows itself needs 8 gigs just for itself, and anything above and beyond that, it's got to swap. And it's very slow when it swaps. So it looks like it's estimating 8 minutes. You can time this. Rarely have I ever seen these estimates correct. I almost prefer a percentage, like, you know, you're 3% done, 50% done, because you will see this time left go all over the map. And it might say 7 minutes, and it's actually 25 minutes. So don't believe it. That's all I'm saying. Once again, in a shop, I would be walking away and doing something else. So while we're waiting, let me take, well, first I can put camera 1 back on because I don't think that'll override anything. I just want you to know I'm here. And let's take a look in the chat room and see what you guys are saying here. Mara mentions the links have been updated in our video notes. You will have to refresh to see the updated video notes. Abdul Azim Patel says he's going to go to snag a minis for a mini PC NAV6 for a big screen upgrading an old computer. Hey, the NAV6 is decent, right? I think that's an i5. Charlie Purdy says thank you. Well, thank you, Charlie. Pat Johnston mentions that I have an Amazon store. So if you go to amazon.com/shop/Carey, yeah, I think that's what it is, you're going to see my Amazon store. There's also a link to my Amazon store all the way at the bottom of the video notes. And it shows all the tools I use. And I've forgotten about it, to be honest. I haven't talked about this in a long time, but my pliers, my screwdriver, these adapters and cables, everything I use on screen, even this keyboard, is listed in my Amazon store, which I believe has over 100 items in it. Now, if you buy anything using my link, I make a very small commission, but your price is the same regardless. In fact, if you use my link to look at something, but you don't want to buy that, you instead want to buy toilet paper or something, you search Amazon for toilet paper or whatever, and you make that purchase, because my link took you to Amazon, I make a small commission off any purchase at all. If you close Amazon, close the window, and then reopen it and go there manually, I don't get a penny. And I don't know who you are. All I know is what was purchased on what day and how much it's sold for and how much my commission is. That's it. I have no idea who you are or where you are. That's how I know how much Amazon owes me. So it's a great anonymous way to support the channel. You're not paying any more. There's no deficit to you. It's going to cost you exactly the same. Everything's the same. The only difference is in the background, I'm getting credit for that sale. And obviously, it's a little bit of money, but if a lot of you use it, that little bit of money adds up. Look at here, we're already done. Acronis says, turn to use this. Okay, so we're done. Click OK. And we can close this out. Maybe it was right. Maybe that was about 7 minutes. You don't have to close this out, by the way. My OCD, right? And it's ejecting everything, and it's going to reboot. So I'm going to unplug my flash drive. We're done with the Acronis rescue. And I really didn't want this to reboot. I want to power it off. So we'll let it start up, and then we're going to shut it down, and we're going to open it up. So we're already over today's time, right? I like to keep these around 2 hours, but we had some delays in configuration and stuff, like waiting for Acronis for no reason. That's my fault. So let's see if we can do this upgrade today. We'll probably go another hour here. Hopefully you'll be able to stick around with us so I can get this done. I don't want to make a part 2 just to open it up and change the drive and the RAM. That shouldn't be that difficult. It is going to be different. Oh, look, we can't even start now. Wonderful. Let me turn the machine off. It might have been trying to start from the USB drive. Let me unplug this target drive. Let's turn it back on one more time. Gotta make sure it works. That was bizarre. So one more time, we'll boot up. Again, you can check your boot up time, and then when we're done, it should be much faster. So the problem with leaving the target drive installed is I don't know now if it was trying to boot off that target drive, because I didn't want it to. And I should have unplugged it before I restarted it. That's, again, my bad. It's been a while. I've been out of practice, honestly, in doing these clones. The last time I had to clone something was back at Studio B, probably 6 months ago or longer. So I'm a little rusty. The needs of users is always changing. And so the business has to adapt according to the needs of what the customers are calling about or requesting what kind of work. And so I was doing a lot of cloning for a while, for many, many years. Now, not so much, but I still count on Acronis for my backups. I'm good there. I'm not rusty on that. Just rusty on the cloning procedure. All right, so everything looks good here. Let's properly shut it down. Here we go. Mark Gaines with a £5 super chat, joining us from Northern Ireland. Thank you, Mark. All right, we can go back to camera 1 and full screen. Come on. There it is. And I'm going to unplug everything. We don't want to work on a computer that's plugged in. Turning it off isn't enough. Now, what you do, if you don't want to follow my advice, that's on you. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, not my fault. Turn this upside down, and we've got some rubber feet down here. And I'm not sure how to remove them. I will need my glasses because everything's really tiny. And yeah, it looks like I need to get something to dig under those little rubber feet and pull them up. What do I have? I have a SIM card removal tool. Oh yeah, there we go. It's just a plug. There's no tape. I don't mind that. The fact that there's no glue, that it just fits in there really tight, it's got a little groove on it, it's a plug. Rubber feet as plugs are fine. Rubber feet that are glued on, covering screws, not good, because I'll show you why. I was cleaning up my desk, getting ready for today, and I found, where is it? Put it somewhere. I found a rubber foot. It's a big one, sitting on my desk. So something I was working on the desk is missing a big rubber foot because the glue isn't sticky anymore. Now I got to figure out what the heck it was. What have I been working on the last few days that would have a rubber foot that big? And then I'm going to stick it back on there, right? You know it's just going to fall off again. So these rubber feet that stick on, assuming they have to be, even if they don't have to be removed, even the rubber feet on robot's foot, they won't stay on. There's no reason I would have taken the feet off. But if you pull on the computer and it's on carpet, it's pulling on the rubber feet. It peels the rubber feet right off of it. So these are plugs. These aren't glued. Okay, just to be clear. Plugs are fine. I don't mind plugs. Now, a plug would be typically something that covers a USB port, maybe, like on a waterproof rechargeable flashlight. It'll have a little rubber cover that you're, even a waterproof Bluetooth speaker, it'll have a rubber cover. It keeps it waterproof and seals it. They're not glued on. They just pop off, or they're attached by a little piece of plastic and they kind of fall and hang on. I don't know why the PC manufacturers can't make the rubber feet plugs. He says, as he's working on a PC manufacturer who did just that. And of all people, it's HP doing something right. Crazy. This world is crazy. Doesn't make any sense. This rubber foot. You need to get something fine in there. A small straight edge screwdriver, maybe a blade if you're careful. And once we get the rubber feet off, it exposes 3 Phillips screws. So I got my JIS driver here, and we're going to remove these. Oh, HP likes to use a T15 Torx bit. Those aren't Phillips, are they? Yeah, they sure look like Phillips. I got a T15 because I work on HPs. I bought a T15. Right here's a T15. Is it a T15? No, I think it's Phillips. Let me try my other driver. That one fit. Okay, tiny little screw. Well, just got to get the right Phillips head. I think we're going to need that T15 though. If it's an HP, they're probably all over the inside. I actually have a couple of T15s. I've got the little bit that goes on the end of this, and then I've got 2 or 3 drivers that are not changeable, that are T15s. And then of course in the iFixit toolkits, they also have the T15s. Very common if you're a technician working on HPs, you're going to use it a lot. Okay, that takes those screws out. Now I think that Again, I've never done this before, so bear with me here. I think this just... Does this come off? Maybe, maybe not. I thought this slides out either that way or towards me, but I don't know if there's a... Oh, wait a minute, there it goes. It's going. Ha! The bottom just came right out. Look at that. I forgot about this part. Thankfully, there weren't any wires attached to it. So yeah, the bottom comes off. And we're gonna keep the screws that went to the bottom. This is my way of organizing. And the feet. Well, the feet are obvious, but I just want to get them out of the way so I don't knock them down. I have to pick them up. And this exposes the innards, the guts of this machine, which is probably unlike any computer you've ever seen. This is all proprietary. There is like a standard CPU probably, and a standard DDR4 RAM, and a standard 3.5-inch mechanical drive. But the way it's installed in the motherboard and all the wires that are connected, oh yeah. So we've got some, as I lift this, I can see this, there's a red and white wire right here. And then when I pull on it, I see stress on this wire. So I know I have to unplug that. Pretty sure. I think. Hold on. Yeah, it looks like there's a bunch of stuff around here that has to be unplugged. So I'm going to guess everywhere you see a plug with a wire, here, here, and here, I'm sure those have to be unplugged to get this open. Maybe this one over here too. So 4, let's try. Oh no, I see several more. I'm not sure which ones have to be unplugged other than by looking for the stress on the cable. Wait a minute. Look at this. That's interesting. Yeah, so this red and black cable has to come off. I can tell that already. Okay, now what's the next one that's holding me up? It's going to be the one on the opposite side. So I've got the red and black cable removed. Now I think the one on the other side here has to be removed. It's very, you got to be careful how you remove these. You really shouldn't be grabbing them by the wires. You could pull the wires right out. You should be grabbing by the plastic, and it should be much easier to remove. Okay, and then let's see what else is holding us up. Oh, we have whatever the heck this is. It may be a Wi-Fi antenna there, but everything seems to be concentrated right around this circuit board. What is that? There's black tape over the connection. That's got to be a Wi-Fi antenna. Where's it going? I don't want to rip any cables. I want to be very careful with how I take this apart. I've never taken one apart before. Oh, that is definitely a Wi-Fi antenna. So where is it plugging in? It goes over to the other, it's going around to this side. And it's got this black tape over it, so I cannot see the connection. And I don't want to pull too hard on it. I don't want to break it. I need to see the connector in order to know how to remove it. We're so close. So close. I feel like that should be the last one we got to worry about. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It just came out on its own. That is a weird, it's like a flat connector. I can't even tell where it goes. There's a little teeny tiny black socket right here, and it fits in there really tight. And so all the cables we removed so far are right around this little circuit board right here. Now I realize this black piece in the center, some of the cables are running under it, and you think we'll just take the black piece off, but the cables are still attached to this other tray, so that's not gonna, this should just slide straight up. I just need to look for any other wires that might be attached. And I'm gonna be very gentle with this in the hopes that I don't break anything. We got it. All right, so there's the top. I am the king of HP. Okay, so does that look really stupid and ridiculous? It matches my shirt. It hurts a little. Okay, now I got scabies. All right, it's a little gift. I'll just set that right over here with the rest of the HP parts. Take a look at this bad boy. We've got we've got what appears to be a motherboard right here, like an ITX style motherboard is what it reminds me of in size. It's not that though. We come around to this side, I see what we want right here. And if we come around to this side, I see nothing. There's a panel here with a finger hole. Does that do anything? It looks like something loose in here. Oh, the wires probably. This has a screw right there. I'm just curious. What is this? Let's take this apart. Oh, great. Torx. The good news is you can also use a flat blade on these. It's T15. HP and T15. That's like butter and toast. Let's take that one out. T15 is a Torx 15. Oh, that's what I didn't want to happen. Now does that just, oh yeah, that just slides open. Hey, hey, that's our RAM. Pop that bad boy out of there. We have two sockets, one module, old school. I open these sockets up. Is this exciting or what? This is the good stuff. We're not putting that back in, but I do need to find that little screw because that fell in a very bad place. I have a lot of stuff lying around in the front of the desk here as we're still setting up Studio C, and it fell in an area with a lot of black carpet and black wires, and it's a black tiny little screw, and it should be I might have to, oh, there it is. Found it. Thank goodness. All right. Yeah, I got to keep in mind when I'm taking things apart, you know, I'm trying to hold it so you can see it, but at the same time, I need to bring it back a little bit to keep it on the desk. So I'm going to take this piece and this screw, I'm going to keep them together over here by the RAM, so I know where everything goes back together. This is my system of working. This is the RAM we're going to install. Hopefully the heat shields will get in the way. DDR4. Might make more sense to turn it around this way so I can stick the RAM in there. Look here, there's a USB. I love HP. I think that's the Bluetooth adapter. It's just a little USB. What is this? There's a... This is either the Wi-Fi or the Bluetooth. Yeah, don't worry, just plug a USB one in there. No one will know. Just hide it. As long as the machine looks cool, that's all that matters. All right. So I've got to turn this around so I can see it. Let's see, short end goes towards the bottom, yeah, that's the bottom. How am I gonna get my hands in there? Oh, I see the CPU in there, look. The CPU is, I don't know if you can see it. Maybe I can light it up with a flashlight. Do you see the CPU in there? It's right there. So I guess we could upgrade the CPU if we wanted to. But that's our motherboard, obviously, where we're putting the RAM in. What a bizarre way to do this. This is kind of in the way, whatever this is a cooling fan back here. And the cooling fan has 2 copper pipes that are running to the CPU. So that's our cooler. It's basically got a heat plate on top of the CPU with 2 copper pipes that go to this fan. That's all your cooling. So if you upgrade this to an i7, good luck keeping it cool. This is all you got. So just FYI. If we take this cover off, I think it'll give me more room for my hands, but I'm trying to do this in a more efficient way where I don't have to take everything apart. But the shields on this RAM, let's see, maybe I can get in this way. Aha! So I kind of got it in there. Obviously, you got to do the far slot first, because there's no way you're going to get to the slot behind it, right? So we're going to do the slot that's furthest back. There's one side. There's the other side. Okay. Not too bad. Not terrible. Turn the RAM around this way with the short end going towards the bottom. Find the track. So get the RAM in there. Keep running into that keyboard. So I'm going to get the RAM in there first. Then I got to find the track. There's one side. Nope. There's one side. There's the other side. Rest it in. Make sure I got it in there good. And then there's one. There's the other. Okay. So that's our RAM upgrade. In theory, that's all we have to do. And we can put this back before I forget where it goes. There's a screw here. This should just slide back in. See all these tabs and slots. There it is. And we'll put that screw back that holds that little cover in place. Try not to drop it this time. Okay, that's our RAM. Now over here is our 3.5-inch hard drive. And it's being held in with these very large screws here on the bottom. And those are Phillips. So we're back. This manufacturer can't pick a screw type. Whatever. There we go. Now, if you notice, what's interesting is these screws have a little grounding tab on them. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that. There's a little grounding tab on the screw. And so when we put this back on, we want to make sure that the grounding tab is touching metal. Over here, the grounding tabs, they're loose. They're supposed to be grounding against the case. They should not be just loose like that. Now, I don't know how important these are, but the fact that the engineers went through the effort to design it that way, I'm going to put it back the way it's supposed to be. Whether or not it makes any difference, I can't tell you. There's got to be a reason. I don't need to understand it, but I can respect it. So we will respect it, and we will put them back with the metal tabs up against the metal of the cage for proper grounding. Now, obviously, before I take the drive out and before I take out the last screw, I need to disconnect the SATA cable and power cable from the hard drive. And that's just like any other hard drive, right? You've got a power cable, a little different looking. And then you've got a data cable, SATA cable, with no clip. It's all just friction fit. Why is that drive so? Wow, that drive's got a lot of back and forth room. So when I took out 3 of the screws, because the cage area for the drive isn't tight, just having those screws loose, look how much the drive moves. On a mechanical drive, that'll kill it, having that kind of play. So let's go back to taking the last. Now, as I mentioned, not only does this drive adapter have all the holes in the same location as the drive, also has the same holes in the same location on the bottom. So if you're, that's why I say I love these, because there's a lot of plastic, cheap 2.5, 3.5 inch adapters that will not work in this because of their design. So there's our last screw. I'm going to slide this drive out of here. There it is, nice and toasty warm. August of 2016 is the build date. So it's 8 years old. That's about right. Remember I said most computers should be replaced in about 8 years. You'll see this is an 8-year build. But it was a cheap 8-year build. Back in the day, this was super inexpensive because it used only 8 gigs of RAM. It had a mechanical drive. SSDs were more money back in 2016. That would have raised the cost of this. RAM was more money. That would have raised the cost. And the CPU was an i3, which was probably the cheapest CPU Intel sold at the time. So when a consumer walks through Best Buy or Costco and they see this, they go, hey, that's really cool. It's only $400 or whatever. They'll buy it not knowing they just bought a piece of junk. If you buy a piece of junk, you're probably not going to get 10 years out of it, at least not without upgrading it. So I think by doing this upgrade today, we're going to extend the life another not 2 years. We'll extend the life to the end of next year, the end of 2015. So at 2016, this is either Linux or useless because the Windows 10 support is gone forever, and you remain vulnerable if you continue running Windows 10 on that. If you force Windows 11 on it, you don't get any of the security of Windows 11 because you just circumvented it by making it install on this, negating the whole purpose of installing Windows 11, which is to keep you safe. But hey, what do I know? So let's get the adapter ready. I've got the drive, it's all cloned, right? We're done with this adapter. And we'll line the drive here with the plug. Now remember, we've got to screw the drive into the adapter here, but we've also got to screw the securing screws to the case on the outside, which this has holes for. It's incredible. I love this thing. Unless I'm wrong. Pretty sure this emulates a 3.5 inch drive in the location of the plug, the holes, everything should be the same. You have no idea how hard it was to find an adapter that does this. Many of you won't need it. For many of you, those cheap plastic adapters are going to work. But for some of you, you're going to find out the hard way. They're not going to line up. They're not going to have the holes in the right place or the plug in the right place. And then, you're back to returning and postponing your repair or trying another part. So I don't worry about that. Like I said, these Fenlink adapters are 12 bucks. Yeah, they're kind of pricey, but I'm avoiding all those problems by using them. Now, I've got a bunch of random screws and these ramekins. These were on the desk at Studio B. These were just like, I don't know where the screw goes. I just put it in this jar. Oh, these are parts. These are extra parts for Peter's Train PC. And in here, I should have I need the little Where did I used to keep my screws at Studio B? I had like a bag full of screws. They might still be at Studio A. I used to have them all categorized, right? And then I needed them less and less. So I just started throwing extra screws in the jar. And I don't know that I have the screws I need in here. And certainly I need 4 of them. So just finding, we're not off to a good start if I can't find at least one. Those are like the coarse thread screws and case screws. And I need the finer screws. There's one other place I can look. Stopped me dead in my tracks. I thought I was ready for today. And I thought for sure in that jar I'd have those finer thread screws that you typically use on SSDs and on CD drives and stuff like that. All right. The good news is I found what I was looking for, and if you saw Studio C right now, you'd say, how did you do that? I have an organized system of piles. So this bag hopefully has what we need, which are the finer thread screws. Oh yeah. And I want, even though I can use different ones, I want all four to be the same. So what do I have to use? That's a good one. That's a matching. That's not matching. That is matching. Come on, give me one more. Nope. That one matches. Perfect. That's what I need. Was that so much to ask? And there's my organization. This pile of screws went into another pile of boxes that had a certain category of drives, and typically I keep the screws with the drives. Found them. That's the CareyHolzman system of organization. Organized piles. All right, now let me put these screws in here, which now I realize they may not reach. You have to get through this thick metal bracket, and these screws may not be long enough. Let's find out. Trying to give you some room so you can see. Oh, we're okay. 1, 2. Come on, line up. There it goes. I think there it is. A 3. Don't over tighten. You want to make them snug. You don't want that drive going anywhere, but it's not airtight, it's not watertight, so don't overdo it. That's it. Now this is going to slide back in here. And those holes should align with the holes on the bottom found on every mechanical 3.5-inch drive. These holes on the bottom, you may not have realized there's holes on the bottom. You're always probably focused on the holes on the side. But yes, there are holes on the bottom. Same with a solid state drive. Holes on the side, holes on the bottom. Some cases want it one way, some cases want it the other. And this drive adapter, once again, covers it on both sides with holes in the exact same locations. As far as I know, it's like the only adapter that exists that does that, except for clones of the adapter. Okay, so the screws to put the drive back in. Got those right here. And I'm not quite sure how to align this. It's very difficult to see inside. But somewhere it should be pretty much hit the bottom. And that should be lined up when we hit the bottom. The problem, as you can witness here, is that there's a large gap. So to start that first screw is a little challenging. But the engineers, you know, they didn't design this to be easy. They designed it for aesthetic reasons. They didn't design it to be fast. I think I'm going to need a flashlight. This is a challenge. It would be nice if it had like a slot or something that it could slide into and lock it in. But because it's so loose, let me turn this around and so maybe you can see what I'm doing here. So to get this drive in, we need to secure it from the bottom, and we have to align the holes in the bottom of the tray with these holes here, and I can't see through them. So when I put this in here, I've got to make sure it's up against the back because it wants to fall a good 3/4 of an inch away from it. And you know, there's no way the screw's ever going to reach. So it's a little challenging to not only line up the hole, but at the same time, keep the drive up against this metal plate. And that's what I'm struggling with. Now, once I get the first screw started, everything else should fall right into place. Okay, right there looks like our location. Let me put the screw somewhere. Just grab another one for now. Once I get the first one started, everything else should fall into place. That's a Phillips. Okay, so we do have one screw in. You'll see there's still a lot of play here. Grab the next one. We'll just do the opposite corner. So I've already got a screw right here. I'm going to put one over here, and then these two should go in easy peasy. So on this second screw, what I need to do is hold this up against the back here until I can get the screw aligned. And in theory, that's it. That tightens it down. And again, we want those metal tabs grounding against the back tray. Now these last two should be super easy peasy. But doing it backwards so you can see makes it so I can't see. It makes it much more difficult than it needs to be. Okay. I gotta find what I did with that other screw. I hear something rattling in here. Oh, there's a piece of broken plastic. Uh-oh. This might have been, did it go to this? Yikes, I might have broken one of the wires. You know, the one that was taped up that I couldn't see? This looks like the end of it came off. I don't know, I'll set it over there for now. That final drive screw, we'll plug that in here or screw that in. And we can start to put this back together and see if I broke it. This T15, I don't think I need that anymore. Well, that's interesting. That grounding strap remains loose. Make sure all these are nice and snug. Not much I can do with this particular grounding strap. It's just super loose for some reason. The others are pretty tight. I don't think they're that important. Might be an FCC thing. I don't know. All right, good enough. Okay. In theory, we should be able to put this back together. More dust. This would be a good time to dust it out, by the way, if you have an air duster like I have here. This charges with USB-C. It's lithium battery, lasts a long time. Probably should do this outside. Get these on Amazon. They're like 60 bucks. Worth it. A lot lighter and smaller than my leaf blower. Samuel Kowalski with a $2 super chat says, keep up the great work, Carey. Right on. Thank you, Samuel. All right, in theory, no, this didn't go on like that. This went on, did it? Where's our ports? Okay, there's our ports. I think this opens up for the ports here. That's what makes sense to me anyway. Let's go this way. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Now there are little clips for this to lock in onto the sides and the bottom. There's little plastic clips. Just like a case panel might have the little tabs that it slides into the slot. Same thing at the bottom and on the sides here, so that keeps it straight. Now if I plug everything back in, if I can remember where the heck I unplugged things and where they went. I do remember there was that one circuit board right here sticking up. And this piece here looked like it went in to the slot somehow. So this antenna, this is where I'm thrown. I don't know if I broke it. They're very fragile. And it had black tape covering it up. And it was very difficult to figure out because it looked like it was on one side of the circuit board when it was on the other. That was a little tricky. And usually these have little buttons and you snap it on. This is a different way of connecting the antenna, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me because it's a it's got a number of wires on it when it should only need one for the antenna. It shouldn't need all of those wires. But it sure looked like it went on there. Unless the piece that was rattling around there is somehow a connection. No. All right, let's move on. Let's see what else we got to hook up. I never plugged the hard drive back in, so the SATA plug to the hard drive, sorry, the SATA power plug, that'll go on. And then the SATA data plug, that'll go on. Forgot about that. Thankfully, it's on this side. Okay, what other cables are left? But I pull off 3 of them, I think, right? There's one. This one almost went in by itself. Okay, well, since it wants to go back in there, we'll let it do that. That's probably the connector for all the front port connections. That would be my guess. It says audio. All right, so I guess it's for the audio. And then, oh, we have this connector here that went on. I think that went on right here. If I'm remembering correctly. And we also have, isn't there one more? I swear there was one more. Thought I pulled off 3. Yeah, there's a big one down here. Yep, that's where it is. Okay. How do I get to that? Might have to take this off. I think the way I got to it was I raised this up, and then I was able to get that cable. That's what I did. Where is that cable? Okay, a little bit of a challenge because everything's tightly fit in there. I should have maybe even just a screwdriver is all I need just to lift that cable up. Maybe I'll take this top off. What's under there anyway? Let's see what it's hiding. That's not going to work. That is too loose. I guess I need a straight edge. Interesting. Interesting twist, HP. I like how you keep changing what screwdriver you want to use. Straight edge. I have tools. Don't fret. Even though the studio is not set up yet, I should have a straight edge here. Bear with me for a second. Okay. One of these ought to do the trick. This is another T15 Torx. Perfect. That's exactly what I need. I'm sure this is T15. One. Those are in there tight. Two. And three. But I think maybe that cover will come off and get out of my way. No, something else is holding it in, unfortunately. That ain't gonna work. All right, well, it was a nice try anyway. I thought I could get this top plastic cover off, but it looks like, you know, that whole middle comes out, and on the other side of this is a speaker, just one speaker. I'm sure it doesn't sound good. So that was pointless exercise. Let me think of another way here. I need to grab that cable. So I need something that I can reach down and pull that up. Okay. Anything holding me on? So that cable that came off, this one over here, I guess it never needed to come off. There's another one that looks just like it. So we've got the antenna wire, we've got this red and black wire. This looks like, oh, interesting. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the one I've been struggling to get. It's fallen down inside. It's a large white connector, and I'm sure we need it. We probably need all of these. That red and black one's powering a fan or something likely. So all I'm trying to do is get this darn cable up here. There it is. That's the one I was after right there. So bring that all up like so. And I want to make sure these don't fall down when I put the cover on. What a pain in the butt. Thanks, HP. How the heck am I supposed to pull this stunt off? You know, maybe something like a twist tie to hold them all up together temporarily. Here we go. Even under construction, I have access to what I need. Whew. Thank goodness. It's a lot of work for just an old computer to make it last just a little bit longer. But some of you may enjoy this. This may be fun for you. Oh, where did that go? I don't know. All right, now those wires will stay in place and I can put the cover back on. In fact, I can go ahead and hook that one up right now. Make my life easier. Boom. All right. And the rest of these cables, I want to make sure that my wire tie isn't getting in my own way here. I think we're good there. think we're good here. And now we should be able to slide this down. With the keyword being should. We don't have to worry about locking it in place until we get down to the bottom. That's where all the clips are down here. So we can open this up as wide as we need to lower that back down. But in doing so, it's dragging down my cables that I need. I don't want that. Okay. Yeah, show's running long today. What can I tell you? So here's the deal. Now that I got that one plug plugged in, I think the next best thing for me to do, I didn't have an issue with these other plugs before. I don't know why I'd have one now. That's my wire tie. I'm like, what cable is this? All right, so there's all of our cables, I think. Something's preventing us from... Naturally, you'd think it would slide up and down, right? But I don't know that it does that. It seems to me that you have to kind of open it up a bit and then bring it down and then just get it to line up with the clips somehow. Something is blocking us. This side seems real happy. This side, not so much. So maybe I have to raise it up again. And there's probably some clips I'm missing somewhere. Or I have this tilted. Then that means I have to pull it back up and realign it. See what I'm saying? Like, look how far off we are on this side. Something is in our way. Maybe I just twist it a little. There are grooves that it's supposed to slide into. Oh, I just felt it click. Now if it'll do that on the other side, so now I got the opposite. Oh, and I turned it, it snapped in. It just locked in. I have no idea. It's very, very strange. I don't care. As long as it's in there. So we still have these 3 cables to connect. We got this little black one here. I don't remember removing that. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. I'm not worried about the antenna. I could live without it. I'll try, but I really want to get this going. This is likely powering a fan or something pretty important, so I definitely want this red and black cable back on, which I thought went over here, if I wasn't mistaken, on the top. Just like that. Again, that's our antenna. This, I don't know what this is, and I'm not sure where it came from. Where did this go? Looking for a small plug that might fit on. And it's got a little grommet on it for some reason. What is this? You know what? I don't think that's a plug. That might be... I don't know. Let's try... I guess the antenna. Does the antenna go in there? Let me get my flashlight and see. Doesn't look like that's going to go in there, but I swear that's where I took it out. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that one. This little one here, that has 3, that goes into a 3-pronged, where did that one go? I would have to rewind my own video. Figure out. I thought it would be obvious to me, but apart from the antenna, this looks like it just terminates. There's no plug on the end of this. I don't know what this is. This is a 3-prong plug that probably goes in this centerpiece. I remember taking a lot out of there. Oh, I lost my little grommet. Come out, little grommet. There he is. Yeah, I don't know what that is. We'll find out. We'll keep all the spare parts. Craig Guessavona with a $20 super chat, watching me struggle with this. Whatever this is, I could put these screws back before I forget where they go next. Because that didn't help us by removing them. And then that'll also help clear the desk of stuff in the way. So we'll put those back in there real quick. Did not need to take those out. Just in case you're at home with one of these. Seems unlikely. But my condolences. These aren't really meant to be upgraded. They designed them to not be easy to work on. It's all about the looks. All right. And we build computers like that sometimes. We build computers that are just mostly aesthetic, not performance. You know what? I still might need this. Where did that wire go? I do remember taking that off. Just don't remember where. When you're working on something like this, it's best if you take pictures along the way so you know where all the plugs go. And of course, making a video, I could probably play the video back. You guys might even have the answer in there. I've not been paying attention to the chat room. Dustin Fuller with a $5 super chat. Right on. Thanks, Dustin. John Svensson says this reminds me of the HP laptop that Carey did a few years back as far as getting inside and closing it up. Well, again, if you work on them regularly, it's no big deal. But this is my first time, and you know, I've got no instructions I'm looking at. It's like a game for me. I like to play this game, reverse engineering. And sometimes I get myself in a little bit of trouble, but I'm always confident enough to know that, you know, I have these little gaps of areas where, like, I don't remember where that cable went. But it's going to be really obvious when you find a little plug that's in there somewhere within the length of this cable that I unplugged it from, so I don't have to cheat and look back at videos or photos, but you should. This is fun for me. Like, I could do this all day. It's just stupid. But it only benefits me if I see a lot of these, right? So if another one comes in, I guarantee I can do all this much faster now that I've done it once. It's like learning to play a song on the piano or any instrument. It's not going to sound good your first try. But if you keep playing it and you keep repeating and rehearsing, you're going to get better and better over time. And the same goes true with computer repair. So when I'm working on desktops and laptops, you know, the desktops I prefer, just regular old desktops. I can get in and get out pretty quickly on most of those. Sometimes Alienware and other manufacturers, they go above and beyond unnecessarily. And those can be a little bit of a challenge, but they're still bigger parts. Everything here is tiny, little tiny connectors. Very easy to break the wires. It's very easy to, you know, forget where the plug is, right? Because it's not, some of these were very obvious. This one, you know, again, this one's confusing to me. I don't know why or how that went in there. Maybe it just snap. Oh, I think it just snaps on. So it's just like a button connector, and it has all these little wires in it, and you just push it right on. Wow, that's new. In my whole career, I've never seen that before. Usually it's a little round button. Again, it's just the Wi-Fi antenna, so it's going to affect your range, but you know, I could have left it unplugged. I'm not using Wi-Fi, but as a professional, you shouldn't have extra parts left over. But we're just doing this for fun anyway. But still, I want to do it right, you know? So within the length of this cable right here that has 3 prongs, there is a 3-prong, uh-oh, is it this one? Is this the one that broke? No. Yes. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I might have pulled that completely off the circuit board. See how that plug fits right on the end of that? I don't know how well you can see that. It's a little teeny tiny plug. This is supposed to be, this top part, this is supposed to be attached to the circuit board, this little piece right here. And I think I broke it. And I don't know what this does. Is this important? I have no idea. That's probably why I can't find it. I have broken it. Ugh. I pulled my antenna off again. That's why the tape was on there. That's why it has the tape. See, reverse engineering can be fun because you get to figure it out on your own. And it all starts to make sense in an HP sort of way. That is so weird. That just pops right off. So here's the deal. Before I put this all back together, and since I don't know what this cable does, I mean, if it's just a front port audio or something, I don't care. But if it's powering something, we're in trouble. So I'll keep it upside down. Let's just plug it in and see if it boots. We're going over 3 hours now, so it's getting a bit longer than I want it to be. And keyboard and mouse, we'll plug that in. I forgot it's upside down, so it's at the top instead of the bottom. Plug that in, and then internet and HDMI right here. Internet, HDMI. Come on. Okay, let's turn it on. Power's on. Ooh, that's a loud startup fan. Let's go to the desktop. Let's see what happens. Now, if our clone worked, we should boot right back into Windows 10, just as it was, only it should be a lot faster now, unless that wire I've left off is needed. We're going to find out. Here we go. Any minute. Any minute now. Any second. Oh, man. I might need that wire. There it goes. There it goes. First boot, you know, might take a minute. Remember how long it stood at the screen before it got us to the desktop? Yeah, it's still taking a while. Okay, you see the clone worked, right? Everything is still here. You can't even tell we changed drives. And if we go to Crystal Disk Mark, and let's run it now. We'll just do the 2 top tests. So remember, it probably loaded a driver or something, I think, on that first boot. So we're going to do just the first 2 tests, the sequential read and writes. We were at around 175 before. I'm hoping to see about 550. Yeah, 549 is good. And then on the writes, we'll probably see maybe a little bit less, but that's more than twice the speed of what was in there. And then when it's done, we'll check and make sure it's seeing 16 gigs of RAM. That might have been why it took so long to boot, is when we change the RAM, the system has to retrain the RAM. So that first boot's going to take longer. Once that's done, any boot after that should be much, much faster. So we'll just finish this test. We're doing the write test right now, and we'll see how fast the sequential writes are on this. Oh yeah, that's so much better than it was. I'm very happy with that. So that's the difference between a mechanical drive and an SSD using the SATA interface. You really can't go much faster than this on SATA. That's pretty much all the data SATA can carry. That's why we moved to NVMe. NVMe is, based on the PCIe slots. So you got Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5, each one doubling. Gen 6 will double, Gen 7 will double. But SATA, we had SATA 1, which was like 150 megs per second. Then we had SATA 2, which was short-lived at 300 megs per second, because then SATA 3 came out within months at 600. Every time it doubles, 150 on SATA 1, 300 SATA 2, 600 on SATA 3. But as you go faster and you're moving more data, you've got more provisioning for error correction, and you likely aren't going to get a full 600. You could turn all the error correction off and remove all the overhead. Then you could get the 600, but you might have a lot of corrupted data. So anyway, that's why you don't see those numbers at their maximums. NVMe works the same. When we had Gen 1, it was 3,600 megabytes per second maximum. Gen 2, I'm sorry, started at Gen 3. We never had a Gen 1 or Gen 2, really. So we started at Gen 3 on the desktop NVMe drives, and those were at 3,600. Gen 4, you can get about 7,300. Gen 5, you will be able to get up to 15,000 once they are able to manufacture chips that can go that fast. Gen 6 should be 30,000. Gen 7 should be 60,000. Gen 8 should be 120,000. So it might, depending on how many lanes your CPU has and what your CPU is capable of, determines how fast your NVMe drive is going to move. So you have to have a modern CPU to do that kind of stuff. And of course, you need a modern motherboard with a modern NVMe drive if you want those kinds of speeds. That's kind of how the whole thing works, if you haven't figured that out by now. So this is our numbers, right? 549 and 495. Let's go ahead and just save that image, and we'll call this Crystal. Well, here, let me just go to the one I already saved. Change that to JPEG, and it should show us that one. And I'll just change the name on the end to, I'll just say SSD. The brand doesn't matter. All right, so that's our after, and this, for those of you just joining us, this is what we were at before. All right, this is where we are now, and this is where we were. So significant improvement. I want to make sure we're seeing that 16 gigs of RAM, so I'll right-click on the Start menu and go to System. I want to see 16. Yeah, so we had 8, now we've got 16. Things should open and close much faster. Let's do a restart, and let's see how long it takes for those of you that have been watching and have timed the other restart. Let's see how long this restart is now, and we can compare it and see how much faster this is, knowing we're still using the same CPU, which is a Core i3 6th generation, like a 6100T, which, is a pretty low-end budget CPU. Now, we stood at this post screen for a while before because I believe it was training the RAM. Now you'll see it didn't stay there as long, and we're already getting ready to get into Windows. This part also should go faster, getting us from the login here, which is automatic, right, into our desktop. I'm even surprised this is taking this long, but we are on SATA, and I haven't used SATA in years. I've been spoiled with NVMe, which is, 5 times faster than this. No, it's 7 times, 6 times. We'll go with 6 times faster than SATA 3 to go to a Gen 3 at 3600 versus 550, right? So that's quite a bit faster. Okay, I think that's where we're at. So I will figure out where this cable goes. I don't know what this cable's for or what it does. It may be something to do with the audio. But at this point, all we have to do, once I figure that out, is put the bottom back on with those 3 screws I just spilled out, and put the rubber feet back in, and we're done. And we're going to get, like I said, till the end of Windows 10 support, which is October 14th of 2025. It's still more than a year away, and it's probably still safe to use. I would imagine it'd be okay till the end of the year. But once you hit 2026, you shouldn't be running Windows 10 on anything. And if you are, I hope you're not connected to the internet or you don't care about having your identity stolen or anything like that, because you're just inviting that. And every month, without those updates from Microsoft, you become more vulnerable. The longer you keep it, the easier it is to hack you. Just saying. And if you're plugged into a network on your router, then once they get into that, they can get into everything. Something to think about. All right, I'm going to check the chat room one last time. And a super shout out and thank you to folks at Acronis, the software I use today. I use it in my business. I've been using it for years. There's 30% off if you want to buy it. There's a free trial if you want to try it. You use it for backups, you use it for cloning. Our friends at RoboForm that do the password manager, a shout out to them for all of their help. They are an amazing password manager. I don't know how I could live without it. 30% off for new customers. And our friends at VIP CDK Deals that offer the discounted Windows licenses and Microsoft Office licenses. 30% off for you guys. Codes are all in the video description below. My Amazon store to see all the parts I use, the keyboards, the flashlights, the screwdrivers, all of that's in there. A shout out and thank you to Mara, who's doing all the work behind the scenes. She's keeping busy. And a shout out to all of our members, because without you, this video would not have been possible. Sponsorships on YouTube, they're almost worthless now. They're paying 80 to 90% less than they were 2 years ago. Not 10% less, not 20% less. 80 to 90% less from ads. It's a real mess. So without your support, we wouldn't be able to do this, or we have to go take on a sponsorship and be a puppet for a corporation to read a script that they wrote, and I would not be allowed to give my own thoughts. This keeps us independent and free, and we're also able to go live where a corporation wouldn't want you to go live. They'd want to see and approve what you've said before you're allowed to air it by a certain date, or you don't get paid. I mean, I don't want to go that route. I really don't want to do that. So this is where we're at today in 2024. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of channels shut down. We're not shutting down. As long as you're there to support us, we're going to keep making content. So a super shout out to all of our members and our super members: Buster, Peter Laycock, Oystein, Frankie B, Paul Gray down there in Australia. You guys are amazingly generous, and I can't thank you enough. And to all the members, I can't thank you enough. And to the viewers, hey, thanks for hanging out with us. It was a joy having you here. We just want you to be kind. If you can support us, that's great. If you can't, that's fine too. We're just happy to have you here as a part of this amazing community we built here. In the meantime, off camera, I'm going to figure this out. I'll play back my video and try to figure out where this went. If I can fix it, I'll fix it. If I don't care, I'll just let it hang. And I don't care about this. It's just for fun. You know, what a weird design. We've definitely improved it, and we've given it a more useful life. But like I said, after support for Windows 10 ends, you put Linux on it, or I don't know, make it into a firewall, turn it into something, Proxmox, I don't know. But for the rest of us, this was just an example of just a weird computer HP sold. And I was very curious on the engineering side, you know, how they crammed everything in there. It is weird. And it doesn't make me happy. Like, for me, if I was getting paid to do this, it would cost more to pay me than that's worth, even when it was new. So you want to make sure that if you buy something like this that's all proprietary, make sure you get a good warranty on it. There's a new mini PC out from Geekom. I think it's called the Mega Mini, all proprietary. It looks amazing. Good luck working on it. Good luck upgrading it. It's good for today, and it's good for, you know, however long it remains compatible with all the latest operating systems that come out or updates. Once it's not compatible, like this won't be compatible after Windows 10. There's no Windows 11 compatibility here. When you buy machines like this, you're kind of stuck. If you build it yourself, you can change the motherboard, you can change the CPU, you can change the RAM, you can change. It's going to cost you a bit more, but when everything's modular and industry standard, you don't have this struggle. On the other hand, some of you like the struggle, like I kind of enjoyed it today. There's no pressure. It doesn't belong to a customer. I could break it, it doesn't matter. And I thought it was broken when I bought it. So I was a little disappointed, honestly, that it worked. I thought it was going to make a better video to diagnose and repair it, if it was even possible. So luckily, we were able to recover and turn it into an upgrade video instead of a repair video. And yeah, I think it'll make a great home theater PC, HD PC. A shout out to everybody who contributed in the super chat. Let me give you guys one more shout out because, again, these contributions, they matter a lot to us right now. Dustin Fuller, Craig Casabona, Samuel Kowalski. He says, keep up the great work, Carey. I think I missed that earlier. Sorry, Samuel, I missed it when you gave it there. But thank you. Mark Gaines in Northern Ireland, Charlie Purdy, Peter VZ, Mike Ely, David Graham, Alan Lindus, Peter again there in Amsterdam, our friend Buster, Nick Caffrey, David Graham renews his membership, now a supporter for 13 months, and Alhaj Tepej, a supporter now for 21 months. Thank you guys for renewing and helping keep us moving forward with brand new content. And I'll try and look for more repairs and diagnostics. I keep my eye open on eBay. If you have something broken and you want to send it in for me to fix it, reach out to us at our email address, which is available in the About page. I think it's also in our video description. If not, we'll add it there. Thank you for watching. We'll see you all again very, very soon. Until next time, wait a minute. I'm not ready. I've got to find an outro. I think we'll just go with this one. Until next time, bye for now.